one, not two.
Yeah, no, here's the other one. The other one, the second one looks pretty shitty.
Well, that's
No.
the second episode. Hopefully it won't be shitty, but hello everyone.
Context. We love it.
I
You don't need
forgot we
context.
were
We don't
waiting
have
for
it, and you don't need it.
But welcome everyone. This is episode 2 of our Curse of the Pharaoh campaign. The continuation of our in-person session that we had several weeks ago. This episode is entitled Idol of Thoth. Without further ado, let us begin. I'll reintroduce all the players and their characters, just in case any of you watching live did not catch our pre-recorded episode 1 and are jumping into the campaign here. I am joined by M2.
Yeah, well, my character hasn't turned up yet. I'll introduce myself when it's time.
I am joined by Remy, who is playing Newt Baker.
Yes, I'm playing Newt Baker, a student at the Arkham University, who has made some very questionable life decisions recently.
And we have Kitty, who is playing Officer Richard Dick Jones of the Arkham Police Department.
Yeah, that's me.
Recently got promoted after solving a series of murders and pinning them on someone who actually wasn't involved.
Just disclaimer, actual crime solving may not have happened.
It is...
We had to explain it away.
Yes, because surely no one would believe the actual account of what actually happened.
Yeah, and I mean, the woman was still missing, so but we found her.
Yes, you did. It is May of 1923. Approximately 2 months have passed since that ghastly business with Merryweather and the house in Ross's Corners and the djinn that haunted it. And, for the most part, your lives have returned to normal. Save, of course, for Boots, the farmhand, who met his untimely demise in that house at the hands of that creature from another dimension. And poor old supermarket employee Ollie, who, in the months that have passed since that event, has sadly turned to the bottle as his main source of salvation, desperately trying to forget what he witnessed in that house that night. And
yeah, be gone.
In fact, fairly recently, you've heard that he quit his job at the Arkham Mega Supply Store, and after that moved out of town. You hope to greener pastures, but since the last you'd seen of him, he was struggling to maintain the rent on his inner city apartment due to missing work because of the constant nightmares and spending all of his disposable income on illicit liquor. You sadly doubt that is the case. And so we shall begin with Newt. Newt, you've just begun what seems to be a rather ordinary morning. You've crawled out of bed in your cramped Arkham apartment about a block away from the Miskatonic University campus. You've just finished grooming yourself for the day ahead and are about to sit down to your breakfast when you hear a knock on your apartment door and a voice simply calling out, "Newton Baker! Is this the residence of Newton Baker?"
Yes, 2 seconds, I'll come get the door. And I open the door.
You slide the chain through the latch and open the door. And on the other side, you find yourself face to face with a man dressed in the telltale uniform of a mail carrier. He simply nods in greeting, reaches into his brown leather bag, and hands you an envelope saying, "Telegram for you, Mr. Baker."
Oh, don't get many of these, thank you.
You take the envelope from him, and as soon as you do, he nods again and then immediately turns and walks away, allowing you to pull the door shut behind him. You return to your kitchen table, and as you sit down to your bowl of cereal, you retrieve your letter opener, slice open the envelope, and pull out the piece of paper within. I will place this up in Discord so that you may see and read the handout. Here it is.
Am I reading it?
Yes, you may go ahead.
You've got it.
Oh, I mean reading it out loud.
If you like.
Yep. Date and time received, May 21st, 1924. Sending office Arkham, words 44. Newton Baker, apartment 113, Peterson Boulevard, Arkham, Massachusetts. Museum owner seeks urgent assistance regarding theft of Egyptian artifacts. Stop. Priceless relics stolen from exhibit under lock and key. Stop. Police have uncovered no leads. Stop. Recommended your name through dealings with Professor Armitage. Stop. Meet at Museum of Antiquities if interested. Stop. Warren Hollister, Arkham Museum of Antiquities, 23 Durliff Road, Arkham, Massachusetts, United States.
You notice that the telegram is... you notice that the telegram is marked urgent, and furthermore, it was sent this morning, approximately 20 minutes ago. What would you like to do?
Well, do I have any classes today?
No, actually. This was going to be a day of study for you.
Oh, well, I finish my cereal and decide that, this could be interesting. The last thing was interesting. May as well go see what this is.
Would you like to place a phone call to Officer Richard or Dick, knowing that this involves Egyptian artifacts and the two of you have fairly recently dealt with something of the Egyptian persuasion? You figure that perhaps Officer Jones's help might be appreciated or useful in this situation.
Well, the last time I spoke to her, she yelled at me, so...
Yeah.
Yes, really.
But, you know, it might be an idea to call and leave a message.
Yep. So
I'll call the actual police station and leave a message.
Leave a message.
Yes.
Okay. So you finish up your breakfast and you leave your apartment, locking the door behind you. You head out of your apartment building and walk along Peterson Boulevard until you find a payphone at the corner of the block. You drop a dime, lift the receiver to your face, and dial the Arkham police station, leaving a quick but salient message for Lieutenant Jones, asking him to meet you at the Arkham Museum of Antiquities. stating that perhaps this has something to do with the events of 2 months ago. As you hang up the receiver, what would you like to do next?
Well, from where I am, can I walk there?
You'll have to hail a taxi cab, but you are fairly close to Miskatonic University. If you'd like to perhaps stop in to see your professor along the way. His name was on the telegram, after all.
Recommended your name through dealings with Professor Armitage. No, I'll head there straight away.
Head there straight away?
Yeah, hail a cab, head there straight away, because, it's marked urgent, so they would probably want me there as quick as possible, I guess.
So, you stand on the street, on the corner of the block, and you stick out your thumb, waiting for a taxi cab. Several cars pass you by, neither of them stop, and you wait for about 10 minutes, and you still haven't seen a taxi cab. You're about to give up, but then suddenly you hear a loud beep, 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 and you turn in the direction of the beeping car and see a rather grand-looking Bentley automobile coming to a stop as it rounds the corner towards you. Its body is white. Its body is pure white, adorned with several silver-trimmed ornaments. This is clearly the vehicle of somebody rich and or cultured. The car slows and halts in front of you, and then the driver's side door clicks and is pushed open, and on the other side of it, seated in the leather driver's seat, hands still on the steering wheel, is a bespectacled, rather portly man, mustachioed, wearing thick horn-rimmed glasses, and smiling at you. M2, please introduce your character.
Good afternoon there. Dr. Henry Longfellow, archaeologist and part-time professor at your service. Good times. Would you happen to be, what was his name? Newton, I believe.
Yes, I'm Newton.
Dr. Henry Longfellow, you were about to pay Newt a visit today anyway, as when you arrived earlier this month in Miskatonic University for your latest stint as a guest professor of Egyptology, fresh from your latest expedition in Egypt and quick stopover in your hometown of London, you expressed interest about the strange sarcophagus that Newt apparently had your great friend, Professor Henry Armitage, translate several months ago, and you were told that Newt himself would know more about the circumstances of its discovery and potential purpose. And so you felt that you quickly looked up his name and address in the student register, and you were going to invite him out for a quick brunch in town. However, you're surprised to see him waiting on the side of the road, apparently for a lift.
Good afternoon there, Newton. I suppose I was on my way to see you from the university, but it looks like you're in need of a lift. I don't suppose I could take you where you need to go.
Oh, that would be greatly appreciated. What did you need to see me about, sir?
I was going to say, hop in, and I'll explain whether on the way to where it is you're going.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm headed to the Arkham Museum of Antiquities, actually.
Oh, fantastic!
And now I'm picking up your accent while I'm talking without meaning to.
And so, Newt, you accept his offer for a lift. You walk around the front of the grand automobile and climb into the passenger side seat. The luxurious leather upholstery allows your body to sink into it as you make yourself comfortable. Without wasting any further time, Dr. Henry Longfellow turns the key in the ignition and begins to pilot the automobile through the streets of downtown Arkham. Newt, would you like to tell Dr. Henry Longfellow what business you have at the museum this fine day?
Well, it seems that Professor Armitage has recommended me to help with a theft that's happened of Egyptian artifacts. It seems a priceless relic was stolen, and I seem to have skills that they need, or something.
The theft of the museum, you say? Well, this is most troubling. I'm going to be a big supporter of their work, and I suppose if old armies put you up to the task, I can't imagine that you wouldn't be up for the job. It's actually funny you mentioned Egyptology. I was actually looking for you after that lovely little sarcophagus that you handed to him the other day. He had me have a look at it, and it's been mulling over my head over many a pint of sherry the last few days. So I thought I'd find you and see for myself what to make of this conundrum. But I suppose I could pop in and see how the old museum's doing as well. Troubling. By the way, I don't suppose you know how exactly to get there. I could read the maps of London off the back of my hand, but I tend to get a bit lost around here. This is my way of saying I have absolutely no navigation skills whatsoever. So, bravo, yes, no navigation.
I only have the base as well.
It's
Excellent.
okay,
Oh,
Newt.
if only you had me.
Yeah, if only had Lieutenant Dick. It's okay, Newt. As a local to Arkham, you happen to know the way to the museum, and so you quickly point it out and guide Dr. Longfellow to the destination. And I would ask Dr. Longfellow to please make a drive check to see that you get there in a timely manner.
Of course. And that is a 2, off to a grand start.
Lovely.
Just very eccentric man driving like an absolute nutcase.
So I figured that Newt, being a student of antiquities at Miskatonic University, has probably been to this museum quite a few times to look at the exhibits. And so, with his directions, you're able to get there in record time, the drive taking all of about 20 minutes to cross downtown Arkham and arrive at the museum on the other side, on the border of the Riverside district. And as you pull your car into the parking lot and begin to slow down the engine, the two of you see, leaning up against the driver's side door of an Arkham police cruiser, Lieutenant Richard Dick Jones, who is just scowling as he watches you pull in.
Now, Mr.
Longfellow?
Mr. Longfellow, this man's not going to be happy with me. Just ignore anything that he may say about me.
I suppose, but I do need to remind you, it's Professor Longfellow.
Professor.
I didn't study and dig around the dirt in Egypt just to be called Mister now.
You park the car next to the police cruiser, kill the engine, and then step out onto the asphalt, stretching your arms and legs as you take in the brisk, late morning air. And Richard, as you see Newt and this strange academic fellow step out of the car next to you, what do? How do you greet them?
I will try not to yell. I will talk to Newt and then say, "You got a lot of balls calling me, son."
Oh, fine. You can leave if you want. I just thought that I would be nice and extend an olive branch.
No, I don't think that's...
You did the right.
the-
You probably did the right thing. A crime is obviously being committed.
Such language as a constabulary, that's such... Oh, sorry, where are my manners? Dr. Henry Longfellow, Professor Henry Longfellow, whichever you prefer. Who might you be?
I'm Lieutenant Dick.
Lieutenant Dick.
What was it? Richard Jones.
Richard Dick Jones. Dick being your rather unflattering nickname that the rest of the department has given you due to your sometimes prickly demeanour.
And the pleasure to meet you, Lieutenant Richard.
And I will shake your hand.
Lovely, lovely.
You stand
Who might you be?
Ah, yes. Professor Longfellow quickly introduces himself, quite enthusiastically explains that his life's work and passion is the study of Egyptology.
Of course. Nice work,
Excellent.
nice
You
passion.
sound like you shall be useful.
I can only hope so. I would be very curious to hear what this not sport go thieving from your museum. They're there for a reason.
Yes. And so the three of you stand in the impressive court in front of the large neoclassical building housing the Arkham Museum of Antiquities. Its white stucco mimicking the stonework of ancient Greek and Roman construction. Palatial wings spread out around you on each side of the entrance building, huge windows dominating their facades, with no expense spared in their ostentatious frontage. Ahead, the central building rises higher, taking the shape of a Greek temple, fronted from the first floor by 4 Ionic columns supporting an exquisitely sculpted entablature, detailed with elaborate characters of gods and beasts, itself crowned by a typically triangular and ornamented pediment defining a 2-sloped pitched roof. Its braggadocian design invokes the ancients as if to give itself more history than its mere construction would allow. It is mid-morning, and in the distance you can hear the sounds of commuters going about their day, the steady thrum of traffic, audible above the icy gusts of wind that chill your extremities and hasten you towards the entryway. Is there anything you would like to do before you step into the museum itself?
Wonder out loud why the museum hasn't been shut down, like closed for the day.
Yes, it's rather odd that there are still people coming and going, and you notice a large poster strung up over the front entrance, advertising the Ormond exhibition of Egyptian artifacts to take place today at 5 p.m.
I suppose they have their reasons, though it is quite a curious matter there. Yes. Suppose they didn't want people to fret, although it's just suppose it depends on how much has been taken or what's been taken. Well, we shall find no answers to this conundrum out here.
As you begin to ascend the stairs, you hear the sound of a car door slamming, and then you turn around and look over your shoulder, and you see a rather heavy-set man with a salt of the earth look about him, stepping out of a yellow taxicab onto the sidewalk. As he sees you climbing the stairs, he raises a hand and he says, "Oi! Officer Dick, I got a bone to pick with you!"
Oh my, what a confrontation here today.
Newt just subtly takes a step away from Officer Dick.
I'm just doing that as well, because I've no idea what on earth is going on right now.
I'll spin around and be like, "What you want?"
The man runs forwards, climbs up half the staircase until he's standing right in front of the three of you, and now you get a better look at him as he's fully illuminated in the morning sunlight. His hair is frazzled and dishevelled, his face unkempt, unshaven, and you notice both of his bare arms pockmarked with bits of dirt and mud. The same mess seems to emblazon the very simple tank top that he's wearing. He holds out a hand as if to offer you a hand to shake, but then notices that his hand's covered in dirt and mud and quickly wipes it on the front of his denim jeans. He says, well, look, I should probably introduce myself. Name's, Jack. Everyone just calls me Gloves.
Okay.
Did I hear that right? Did he call himself Gloves?
You must be the sibling of or family member of the late Boots, I'm assuming?
He says, yeah, too right. Now, as you know, you're the one who's been in charge of the investigation involving the death of me dear cousin Boots.
Oh.
But the department won't tell me what happened and the circumstances of his death, said to take it up with you. Now, I've been running around all morning since I got off work about 5:30 a.m. I've been making all sorts of phone calls, speaking to all sorts of people and jumping through all these hoops, and I find out that you've come down to the museum.
Should I... tell him what happened to his brother? Well,
Could you say it's an ongoing police investigation?
You could say it's an ongoing investigation, and the details you're not at liberty to divulge the details.
Yeah,
Police business.
I'll go with that. Secret police business.
The man calling himself Gloves just nods and he says, "Alright then, fair enough. Well, I hope you don't mind if I tag along then. Help you with the investigation. After all, I was the closest to Boots in the family, and look, I owe it to him to get to the bottom of whatever's happened to him, put him to rest, and make everything right in the family."
I had a fondness for Boots. I don't want him to die again. It's hard. Should we welcome? Well, we have to welcome him along because he's M1. So.
He says, "Look,
Yeah,
I ain't taken."
Sure. I mean, it's illogical, but yeah, sure.
He says, "Well, you know what? I wouldn't have taken no for an answer anyway. Look, I may not be a copper, I may not have that fancy badge you got, but I'm interested in finding out what sort of business me dear cousin was up to his earlobes into, alright?"
I'll just forewarn him that it's dark.
He says, yeah, look, he's been through a lot, old Boots, ever since he got kicked in the head by the bloody horse, all sorts of things he was into. Look, I've heard the worst of it, and I'm sure nothing that you tell me will surprise me.
I'll pat him on the back and just, buckle up, son.
He gestures.
Bumpy ride.
He gestures towards the museum entrance, and he says, "Well then, after you. One last thing. What are we doing here today at the bloody museum of all places?"
Something's been stolen.
Does anyone else want to elaborate further?
I don't know. I was my way to visit Newt. Apparently something's been pilfered from this place. You called yourself Gloves, was it?
Oh yeah, they call me Gloves because apparently, I like everything to be done on the job my way. You see, sometimes I like to get in a little bit of a punch up, so they started calling me Gloves on account of I don't wear any gloves.
Yes. Well, I suppose the museum are probably waiting for us. Best we go inside. Eh? Yes?
Yeah, too true, mate. He just gestures towards the entrance, and you make your way into the building. The inside of the building is no less grand than the outside. An impressive gallery filled with beautiful statuary and striking works of art set in gilt frames. You barely have time to take in what's in front of you before you see the owner of the museum rushing towards you, a portly gentleman who introduces himself as Warren Hollister, followed by the curator of the Ormond exhibition, a striking young red-haired woman who introduces herself as Miss Browning.
One question, would I know either of these two at all?
No, because you've not been to this museum. And these aren't academics, they're just employees of the museum.
No, fair enough.
The museum owner looks at you all, and then his eyes settle on Newt, and he says, Newton, Mr. Baker, you answered my telegram.
I step forward and offer my hand and to shake, and I go, yep, and I bought more people than I thought I was going to bring, but yeah.
He shakes your hand and he says, Mr. Warren Hollister, as I said earlier, and he looks and takes in the rest of the party, and he says, no harm done. I think, circumstances considered, I would welcome more help. He says, come, walk with me, and I'll divulge the salient facts as we walk to the exhibit proper. He he gestures for you to follow him, and then he leads you through the opulent foyer of the museum into the exhibit hall, leading you through what appears to be first an ancient China exhibit, and then an Aztec exhibit, and then down a marbled hallway. As you walk, he talks to you. The curator of the exhibit, the woman who simply introduced herself as Ethel Browning, simply listens in silence as you walk. Last night, thieves forced open an exceedingly rare sarcophagus and stole the priceless idol that had been held within it for thousands of years. And tonight is the grand opening of the Ormond exhibition, and the sarcophagus is one of the centerpieces. Of course, we can't very well have it on display if the idol contained within has been stolen. So, I would be willing to pay each of you $30 a day, plus a $50 finder's fee to retrieve the idol, and if you can actually return it before 5 p.m. when the guests will be arriving, I will offer you each a $100 bonus.
Newt's eyes just go wide because he's just a poor student. Like, he may have had a part-time job or something, but that kind of money for a day's work is just unheard of.
This kind of money is like, a month's work in a full-time job, stacking shelves or labouring or something.
Well, such generosity.
Yeah, even for you, Professor Longfellow, even though this money is, dwarfed by your yearly income as a professor, it's still a generous amount. And of course, Gloves and Officer Jones, this is the sort of money that it would take you months to make in your regular line of work.
Let's start investigating.
there any questions you would like to ask? Actually, first, Mr. Hollister just looks at you all and he says, I take it those terms are agreeable?
Yes, very agreeable.
I see no reason why we would refuse. It's a matter of utmost urgency, especially, I suppose, the boys at the Bridge Club would never let me hear the end of this if I were to let such a priceless artifact slip through my fingers.
Jolly good, jolly good. Come, let's continue walking. Any questions you'd like to ask me?
First question for me is, why did Professor Armitage suggest me to you guys? Like, the only dealings I've had with him with any sort of relic is briefly getting him to study one for me.
Well, you see, Newt, Professor Armitage is a dear friend of mine, and he's spoken highly of you several times, calls you his most promising student, and in fact, it was that business with the sarcophagus that prompted him to pass your name along. He didn't quite go into details, but he told me you had experience dealing with, matters that could not quite be explained via normal means, if you get my drift.
Okay.
Yes.
I will leave the investigationing to...
Investigating.
Investigationing to people who know.
Alright, let's not lose our heads. We've barely even gotten into this.
People better suited than me.
Yep. Are there any more questions you would like to ask before you get to the exhibition hall?
Are you talking to just Newton, or...
Oh, any of you in general.
How exactly did they manage to even get in here? I suppose an exhibit of such high caliber would warrant some form of security, would it not?
He says, well, that's just the problem, isn't it? Why don't you fill them in, Ethel? Miss Browning smiles and she looks at you, and she says, well, you see, that's the strange thing. The history of the sarcophagus and the idol it contained is more myth than fact, but legend has it that the sarcophagus was a gift from the god Thoth himself and contained an idol of pure diamond. Until last night, it is believed that no one had ever managed to open the sarcophagus. Indeed, myself, Mr. Hollister, and the other employees of the museum had not managed to find any sort of mechanism or anything that would allow the sarcophagus to open. So how the thieves managed to open it, I don't know. As she says this, I would like each of you to make spot hidden checks, please.
It's a 13, so it's
Nice.
hard pass.
I got an 8, so that's an extreme pass.
I got a regular pass.
You notice
44.
You notice momentarily as she finishes explaining that she doesn't know how the thieves would have even opened the sarcophagus, that she looks away from you for all of 1 second and then looks back at you, and her smile falters momentarily before fixing itself, perhaps even more beaming on her face.
You lying?
Well,
You can make a psychology check if you like,
I don't
if
have
you've
that.
noticed
Yeah.
this.
I'll make a psychology check. That's something that I can do.
I've got
Oh no, that's a fail.
That's a
Can I do a
fail.
psychology check?
Oh yeah, if you noticed her momentary lapse, then yes, you may.
Oh yeah, I got the extreme pass.
Yep, so you can make a
Yeah.
psychology check.
I can try.
I failed.
Yeah. So you notice that momentary lapse, but aside from that, you have no reason to believe she'd be hiding anything. She is, after all, the curator of this exhibit.
I spot things, but I am not smart.
You come to the end of the hallway and to a large marble-flanked archway with a banner hung over the top, simply reading Ormond Exhibition, 5 p.m, May 21st. Mr. Hollister turns to you all and he says, well, here we are. I'll leave you to it, to investigate the scene of the crime, as it were. If you need me, I'll be in my office, but Miss Browning knows everything about the exhibit, and if you have any more questions, she'll hopefully be able to assist you. He turns around and begins to walk back down the marble hallway. He turns his head to look at you over his shoulder as he says, good luck, and remember, 5 p.m. And then he looks away and walks down the hallway, his loud footsteps receding into the distance.
Staying to quite a fascinating day, it seems.
The newly constructed atrium where the exhibition is held contrasts boldly to the rest of the building's more traditional design. Stepping through the large archway, you enter a brightly lit atrium large enough to serve as a ballroom. The room is rectangular with rounded corners, and is 2 floors high. Each of the levels are lined with horseshoe arches and balustrades, and they overlook the central space, reminding you of a church's ambulatory. While sober in style, the arches and columns supporting them are richly detailed in a style that carelessly mixes Hindu and Islamic designs, subtly offending Professor Longfellow's sensibilities. Just mixing these two different cultures together with nary a whim. The white facing and multi-tiered construction gives the space an almost wedding cake-like character. The room is dominated and generously lit by an impressive glass canopy held up with sleekly engineered metalwork. The room is further illuminated by a huge set of windows on the opposite side of the room, which look out onto a beautifully landscaped lawn outside the museum. A short flight of stairs leads down to the main floor, and from this vantage point, you have an enviable view of the Ormond exhibition. Hundreds of Egyptian artifacts, each especially chosen for their rare aesthetic and exceptional beauty, have been expertly arranged to both catch the eye and best use the space. At the far end of the room, on a strikingly carved stone pedestal, itself on a raised platform, sits the open sarcophagus that until recently contained the idol of Thoth. What would you like to do?
Start investigating.
Examine
where it was.
Yeah, it looks like it was in the sarcophagus. So you could investigate the sarcophagus itself, you could look at the rest of the exhibit, see if anything stands out. You could grill Miss Browning for any more further knowledge that she might possess. It's entirely up to you.
I want to look at the sarcophagus personally.
Yep. Okay. I would like you, officer, to please make a spot hidden check to fully profile the sarcophagus.
Okay, that is a hard pass.
You walk through the exhibit and lead the rest of the party to the sarcophagus. The sarcophagus is about 18 inches tall and about half as wide. It is covered in elaborate designs and detailed patterns that even to your untrained eyes seem dissimilar to those found on the other Egyptian artifacts. Strangely, at this time, the sarcophagus is once again closed. And try as you might, you cannot see any hinge or mechanism that would allow the lid to open.
Will I be able to do What was the word? Archaeology or history check. See
Yep,
if
it
I
will
know
be a
more about this.
normal archaeology check or a hard history check.
I'll be going the archaeology because it's pretty much my major. I'm gonna have to push that because of course. And that is just a hard pass.
Much of the design and iconography on the sarcophagus is similar to those found on artifacts from the 18th dynasty around 1350 BC. Strangely, however, there are a number of irregularities with the hieroglyphics. It would take further study to be sure, but the use of priestly script on the sarcophagus is unusual. Furthermore, the name within the large cartouche, which would usually say who was entombed within, uses pictograms you've never seen before, and there are also a number of unknown and disturbing images painted across the sarcophagus's lid, which do not seem Egyptian in origin. There are some words you do recognise, however. Thoth, gift, gods, moon, theft, and curse.
He seems to get more and more curious by the minute. I'll just explain that in a matter-of-fact state to everyone else.
Can I do an occult check on the pictures and phrases that aren't part of the aren't normal?
Yes, you may go ahead and make an occult check.
Can I push that?
Yes, you can.
Oh, that is a 22, and my that is just a hard pass.
Lovely. So, the iconography that doesn't appear to Egyptian does remind you of one thing. The small sarcophagus-shaped box that you acquired during the events 2 months ago. It too had iconography that was seemingly untranslatable, and you ended up finding references to that iconography in a book, indicating that it's often associated with the lost civilization of Mu.
Civilization of what, sorry?
Mu. M-U. A civilization said to exist on a lost continent within the South Pacific. Just like then, you feel it quite strange that there would be any link between ancient Egypt and a civilization that apparently existed long before the dynasty that this sarcophagus is dated to even existed in a completely separate part of the world.
Yeah, I let everyone know.
Gloves
Everyone-
just shrugs and says, "Oh, it's all flying over my head. All I know is sheep and cows, and maybe sometimes out of pigs and engines."
Maybe M1 could act his character as M1 is actually here.
M1 is here
He just turned
now.
up.
So M1, you are playing Boots,
No,
cousin...
Gloves.
Gloves, the cousin of Boots. All you know is that your cousin died under mysterious circumstances. The Arkham Police Department... Yeah, the Arkham Police Department would not reveal the details of the circumstances of Boots' death, and they simply directed you to Officer Richard Jones, who is apparently in charge of the ongoing investigation. And that's why you're here now, as you want to find out what business Boots was involved in, and Officer Jones has agreed to let you tail him and basically uncover this business yourself, as both he and Newt feel that you're about to be pulled back into it.
So, I need to go investigate via the gloves method.
Yes.
Quick question,
Please don't damage the fine arts.
Don't damage the fireworks.
Is Gloves just as intelligent as his latter cousin?
He's slightly more intelligent, but roughly around the same level. They call him Gloves because he likes to get into fisticuffs.
Ah, I thought it was for his wonderful leathery gloves that he has on him all the time.
Well, he wears those. He does wear leathery gloves all the time in his business as a farmhand and labourer, but he also apparently likes to get into fisticuffs, and as such, you know, due to his lack of wearing boxing gloves, but still liking to fight, he acquired the nickname Gloves.
Ah, beautiful.
So, is there anything else that anyone would like to examine in the exhibition hall? Keep in mind that as you're doing this, Miss Browning is simply watching you in silence as you go about your investigation.
Can we take rubbings?
You can if you like.
I would like to attempt to.
Would you like to ask about that?
You can. Would you like to ask, or would you just like to take them?
I'll just do it.
So, in order to take rubbings, I would like someone to perform an Egyptian check.
So it's language and Egyptian?
Language Egyptian.
Yeah, I can do that. 50-50. What are we looking at? I'm going to push that. And that's a 9, so that's going to be an extreme pass.
Yep.
Oof, good.
So, as Lieutenant Dick looks around to figure out what he wants to do next, he raises the idea of taking a rubbing, and you quickly attend to this. Taking rubbings of the iconography on the sarcophagus and placing the rubbings away in your bag. The rest of you notice that a small table while Professor Longfellow is doing this. The rest of you notice a small table sits beside the sarcophagus platform, and it seems grossly out of place beside the other objects in the room. It's cluttered and disorganized. Chaotic notes in an untidy hand make up most of the papers scattered across it, but you also see pens, ink, wax, and 2 reference books, as well as mouldering cups and plates of half-eaten food.
I want to take a closer look through all of this.
Yep.
Through the papers.
I'd like you to make a library use check, please.
Well, where's my would someone else like to take a look?
Well, you can make a if you
I can use the library.
Ah, yes. So yes, you could do one, or Newt could do one, or I would like Officer Dick and Gloves to please make spot hidden checks, while Newt makes a library use check.
Okie dokie.
I'm awful, but I'm predisposed with this
I got a
stuff.
pass.
Making rubbings. Yep.
Fail.
That's okay.
Can I
Push
push
that
it?
to the dice
Yes, you
gods.
can. You can push it.
That's a fail as well.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
Alright, I'll push. Do a quick push. Roll D100. Oh, pass.
Pass. Okay. Was that library use or spot hidden?
I'll spot hidden.
Yep. So, you and Lieutenant Dick notice that this table appears to have been in this state for quite some time, based on the cups of cold coffee and the half-eaten sandwiches. It seems to have been left like this for at least 12 hours, perhaps almost as if someone was working here early last night and suddenly left. You pick up the 2 reference books that are placed on the table, and you notice that they are volumes 1 and 2 of the Egyptian Hieroglyphic Dictionary, 1920, written by Sir Ernest Alfred Wallace Budge. Meanwhile, Newt, You attempt to look through the papers, but there are so many, and they are so chaotically organised, that it will take you about an hour to glean anything. Do you accept this as a consequence for your failure?
As well.
The papers are extremely disorganised, and calling all the others over to assist, the four of you take about an hour to sort through them all and find anything that appears to be of interest. The notes that you find are chaotically written and difficult to read. I would like someone to make an own language check to try and decipher them.
Oh, I can do that. 18, which I believe is just shy of an extreme pass.
Yep.
Weirdly, in fact, language learning is actually my best skill somehow.
Yeah, because it'd be tied to your education.
Yeah.
One of the most recent notes reads, "Even after weeks of study, a full translation of the sarcophagus still eludes me and may be beyond my skills to complete. The use of the hieratic script is bizarre, to say the least, with strange formalities in word choice and grammatical structure that I've never observed before. The hieroglyphics themselves do not seem to follow the customary conventions, and many seem to be unique to this artifact. Amongst the notes, you also find a number of translated words and phrases, including gift from Thoth, stolen by Thoth, contains a gift from god Thoth to the Pharaoh of Blackest Night. The cartouche refers to a presently unknown pharaoh. How does it open? There is no visible seam. Does it open, or is that just part of the myth? Newt, in order to decipher the last handful of notes, I'd like you to please make an own language check.
Okay, let's see. These dice are the only ones that passed so far. Fuck me. Can I push?
Yes, go ahead.
That's better. That's a normal pass.
The notes also refer to two texts. The images remind me of something I saw in the recent translation of the Book of the Dead by Dr. Thomas Williams. Could they relate to the creation myth regarding Thoth, Nut, and Khonsu? The unknown hieroglyphics bear a resemblance to those I saw in the Akhetaten fragments. I wonder if Professor Gray will grant us access. As you finish reading the notes, Miss Browning continues just watching you silently, although you notice she seems to be taking particular interest in these notes as you sort through them and show them to each other.
I wanted to question her about what was going on here, next to the thing.
Yep.
Where are they?
You call her over, and she smiles, and she says, "Yes, officer, is there something I can help with?"
Explain this.
You just gesture towards the table, and she says, that's where our resident Egyptologist, Clarence Butterfield, was working. Come to think of it, he seems to have been missing since last night. He was supposed to come in at 7 o'clock this morning, but doesn't seem to have clocked in yet.
What's his address? I'm a police officer. I'll go check.
You'd like his address?
Yep.
She says, well, okay. I'll write it down for you. She gives you the address of Clarence Butterfield. He seems to live in a townhouse on the edge of the uptown district of Arkham. She says, "Do you believe?" She says, "May I ask? Do you believe that he is involved with the theft, or that he's in any danger?"
Yeah, it could certainly be possible. It's so smart to explore all avenues.
She says, Yes, I agree, but despite the fact he's a brilliant researcher and an expert Egyptologist, keep in mind he's quite slovenly, and it's entirely possible he may have just slept in this morning.
Is that something he does often?
She says, yes, reasonably often. You can count he'll be late for work at least once in every week.
And you put up with that? Why?
She says, because he's a brilliant Egyptologist and knows this subject better than anyone else who I've met.
Well, he would certainly be worth talking to then.
Sounds like a challenge to me.
She says, is there anything else I can help you with?
Just stand by for now. I don't know what else I should ask her. So.
If you like, you may make an intelligence check to make an idea check and see if you get an idea.
Okay. That was a fail.
Yep, someone else can make one if they like. Do an idea
intelligence check.
Yep, go ahead, an idea check.
Idea check. Oh god, that's a 2.
That's a 2. So, there are multiple ideas that pop into your head. Even though you noticed her momentary lapse earlier, she could still be a font of useful information. After all, as the caretaker and curator of this exhibition, she would know the source of all the artifacts, and may be worth asking her about the history of the artifacts in this exhibition. Furthermore, as the curator of this exhibition, it's likely she would have been the first in to see it this morning, and so she may be able to offer some information about how she found the crime scene and any theories of her own as to how the sarcophagus was opened and the idol stolen.
Well, I will leave the crime side of things to the local lieutenant here, but could you tell me, I'm very curious, especially from the original investigations and the rubbing I've taken, I'm very curious. This seems like an odd artifact, even amongst Egyptology, and I don't suppose you'd be able to tell me a little bit more on the history of said piece, like where was it found? Where did it come from? How did it come here, of all places?
She frowns and she says, I'm afraid I can't speak for the original source of the sarcophagus, but all of the artifacts in the expedition, including the sarcophagus, were acquired at great expense from the estate of a Mr. Arthur Ormond after he became ill. Newton, as she says this, Newton and Longfellow, I would like you to make history checks, please.
My history. Dang. Just shy of a hard pass. It's a regular pass by 1.
History. Can I push it?
You can. You only need a regular pass.
Yeah. Nah, failed.
Failed? Yeah, the name she mentioned means nothing to you. Most likely just a collector of artifacts. However, you do notice that the rest of the artifacts in the collection do not appear to be particularly valuable from an archaeological standpoint. This suggests that this Mr. Arthur Ormond was not an academic, but rather just a collector of what he deemed to be historical artifacts.
So did I get that from a pass, or is that one from a fail?
Did you pass?
Yeah, I passed.
Oh, you passed. Yeah, so
I was one shy of a hard. one shy of a hard pass.
So yeah, you do recognise the name. You recognise the name Mr. Arthur Ormond as a reasonably famous adventurer and collector of ancient artifacts who has been notorious for both finding and acquiring antiquities, often using unscrupulous means. From what you know about him, his collection is often held in high regard by people that he associates with, and you cannot imagine any circumstances in which he would actually sell his collection to a local museum, no less.
Strange curiosity. It's not the sort that would sell such artifacts, especially ones as unique as these. How did you acquire these from him?
She says, "Oh, well, after much negotiation, he was willing to sell them." And she looks away from you. You may make a psychology check if you wish.
Oh dear, I'm not good at these. I'm good at digging up relics of the past, not matters of the mind. Nope, got nothing. I'm sure she just had something in her eye.
Yeah, yes. Is there anything else you would like to ask her about?
Do we want to ask about the actual crime scene itself? She was the first person here.
Yeah, that seems like something Officer Dick would like to do. So, Officer Dick, I would like you to please make a law check to basically guide her through the process of explaining how she arrived at work and guide her through giving you a testimony of what she found.
I think Officer Dick's AFK at the second.
Ah, yes.
Oh, she might be, yeah.
Well, that's
She's
okay.
only just that period,
Yeah.
so.
That's okay. Gloves, would you like to make a charm check to see if you can get Miss Browning to open up? Because she seems quite reluctant to share any more information.
I've got like a whole little tiny thing dedicated to it. Alright, charm is 50. Alright, let's do this. Roll 100. Oh, 8 off. Can I... You know what, I might just...
Spend 8 luck?
Spend 8 luck.
Yep.
Yes, please.
And so as...
Can I get him to hold up his gloves and says, "Do you like my gloves? Do you like my gloves?"
As Lieutenant Dick asks Miss Browning if she could go through her recollection of finding the exhibit, and she starts with just giving you very vague details about how she arrived first thing of the morning, found that the idol was stolen, and doesn't seem very willing to contribute more. You step forward, and what do you do?
Oh, yeah. Is that aimed at me?
Yeah, what,
Yep.
Okay,
what do you do to charm her?
How do you charm her?
Very simple. I put my arms out like very flamboyant, and remember, I'm a bit retarded, so it comes across a bit weird. You like my gloves? The leather gloves. See the price tag? And he waves his arms, the leather gloves in front of him. I'm rich. I spent $10 on this.
The man is green.
She just sighs.
Run while you can.
She just sighs in
There's more pity than
exasperation,
charm.
and she just sighs in exasperation, and she says, "Look, it's a mystery, okay? Look, no windows were broken. The only door leading to the expedition hall was still locked when I arrived in the morning and shows no sign of being forced. There are only 2 keys. I've got one, and Mr. Hollister has the other. How the thieves got in and out is a complete mystery." As she says this, I'd like you all to make spot hidden checks, please.
Fuck off.
Oh, that is an extreme pass.
I failed.
Yep.
That's
I
a
need
hard
to
pass
stop
for me.
laughing. Sorry.
Lieutenant Dick Jones, you notice that as she says, it's a complete mystery how the thieves got in, okay? She shuffles nervously, trying almost as if she's backing away from all of you, quickly looking from... her eyes quickly darting from left to right, as if looking for a way to escape.
Okay.
She knows something. She knows something.
A point. No! No. What would I even just point it out? Be like, I think you're lying.
You could point it out. You could if you wanted to go the direct route, you could flash your badge and be like, look, if you know something and you don't tell us, you'll be obstructing an investigation and I could have you charged. You know, you could
I'll go that route.
Alright, make a law check, please.
That is an extreme pass.
You step
Dick is the
forward
law.
with an angry look
I
on
am
your
the law.
face. And you say, look here, this is an official investigation of the Arkham Police Department under my control. And if you have information that you were willingly withholding, you can be charged with obstruction of justice. She looks at you, looks from left to right, and then she sighs, and she says, okay, look, I was scared, okay? Ever since we've acquired the collection, the museum's had almost daily phone calls and telegrams and even visits from this unpleasant man who wanted to buy the sarcophagus and the idol of Thoth contained inside. He made death threats both to myself and to Clarence Butterfield.
Why don't you report this?
She says, she just shrugs and she says, he made threats. Threatened that if we did not do as he said, that he would make sure we both regretted it. She says, I don't remember his name, but he left a business card in my office, and I suppose if you promise not to tell him that I gave it to you, you can have it.
Yes. Why would you not give it to me? Wait!
Yeah, this seems like...
I'm not that out of character kerfuffling.
Yeah,
No.
because she's clearly been scared by the threats that this person gave her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I suppose.
damn.
I get that.
She reaches into her dress pocket and pulls out a small piece of cardboard, and she hands it to you. And as she hands it to you, she says, "You didn't get this from me, and I want it known on the record that we would not have split the collection for any price. However, the amount this man was offering worked out less than the value we paid for the Ormond estate. So we would not have even considered his offers, even without the constant insistence and threats. I will put the business card up in Discord so that you may see it."
Let's get Tonic University. Oh dear.
Oh, then.
Vincent Gray, Professor, Occult and Archaeology Faculty, Pugmire Wing, Miskatonic University, Arkham. As you
I'll
read
look at
this...
Newt.
Yeah, Newt, I would like you to please make an intelligence check with advantage.
Oh, I make one as well, or...
Uh,
I suppose only parts.
no, only Newt, because Newt specifically is... I'm getting it so I'm making him do it so he...
Yep.
Okay, I got an 8 and a 3.
Oh, lovely. Your mind
Where
flashed...
could those have been?
Your mind flashes back to the events of 2 months ago, when you were attempting to find the book known as De Vermis Mysterious in the restricted section of the Orn Library. Although you were unable to find the book, on the way out of the library you were almost accosted by 2 men, and you recall that when you asked the librarian who they were, she told you that it was Professor Vincent Gray and his student, Clarence Butterfield.
Oh.
Dun, dun,
This is
dun.
wait, so he was threatening his own student?
That may be.
Huh.
He wasn't threatening the student, he was threatening the museum.
Yeah, the museum in general. And so, it seems you've uncovered at least a few leads. It doesn't look like there's anything else to uncover here in the museum, unless you'd like to try and press Miss Browning for even more information.
Ugh. I mean, we could see if she knows more, but I don't know if she would know more.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like we've got what we can out of that one.
From this point, you appear to have 3 possible avenues that you can take your investigation. The first is...
Actually, I want to ask her
Yep.
if he did threaten
Clarence Butterfield. She says, yes, left death threats saying that everybody who worked on this exhibition would regret it if he didn't get what he wanted.
Okay, so we have more of a reason to maybe suspect that Clarence might be in some kind of danger.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
entirely possible. So, the 3 avenues that you could possibly carry your investigation from this point are, since Professor Longfellow recognized Mr. Arthur Ormond's name, but was unable to glean anything more, it's entirely possible that, and considering the suspicious circumstances of him selling his collection, you might be able to see what you can uncover about his name, perhaps by visiting the local newspaper. The second avenue is to go to Miskatonic University and see if you can arrange a meeting with Professor Vincent Gray. The third avenue is to pay a visit to Clarence Butterfield's home and see if you can find him.
Personally, I want to go and check on Clarence Butterfield.
Yep.
Like that's me being in character policeman officer.
Yeah, that is definitely
makes-
fair.
That does make a lot of sense.
Professor and I could go check on this Vincent Gray,
Yes.
being
Be a
well,
sound idea.
the professor here being a fellow professor and I being a student.
Yep. And
Yeah.
so that would leave gloves and unless gloves you have a choice, you may go with Lieutenant Jones to check out Clarence Butterfield's residence, or you can head on your own down to the Arkham Inquirer and see if you can find any old articles about this Mr. Ormond.
I might go and do some investigation with the rest of the group.
Yeah,
Very
that's-
well, so
that's
you'll
great.
accompany Lieutenant Jones then.
I shall be accompanied
Yes.
with Lieutenant Jones.
Alright. So, you say thank you to Miss Browning and tell her you'll stay in touch with her. And by the time you step out of the opulent museum back into the streets of Arkham, the sun is high in the sky and the clock tower of Miskatonic University off in the distance reveals that it is just past 12 o'clock.
Oh dear.
You obviously spent quite a lot of time searching through the notes back in the exhibit. So Gloves and Lieutenant Jones, you head over to the police cruiser and climb inside. You've been given a small slip of paper with Clarence Butterfield's address on it, and as you turn the key in the ignition and gun the engine, and the car roars to life, I would like one of you to please make a navigate check to find the best way, the quickest way to Clarence
Where'd that go?
Butterfield's home.
Navigate. Yep, I have navigate.
Yep.
I've got 10 as well. Let's both try.
Well, you can.
Oh! You know what? I could spend 2 luck.
Oh,
Alright.
wait.
You
I
pass.
thought you meant that you rolled 10.
And so
No,
Gloves...
the ice score to be nice.
Give it
Okay.
a minute.
So Gloves is not very good with directions, but he does happen to be a local of Arkham. and he recognizes the address on the slip of paper and quickly lists off a string of directions that will allow you to get there quite quickly. Now, who would like to drive?
I have drive order.
Don't you have drive?
Yeah.
What do you each
What's
have?
my drive order? Oh, I got 50.
Oh, I've only got 30, so you can.
Who'd like to
Give it a
swap?
shot.
Yes, let the hillbilly drive the police cruiser.
So-
That's,
Given that,
Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
that's okay.
Sorry.
Given that he seems to know,
Sorry, Kitty.
given that he seems to know the way, you decide it would probably be quicker and more expedient if you let him drive. And so you quickly park just outside the entrance of the parking lot and swap sides. Gloves, please roll a drive auto check with advantage.
Alrighty. Okay, that is a 71. Can I push that?
Yes you can.
That is worse. Manual? Oh my god, this is a manual.
Okay. Despite the directions, it takes you all of another hour to make your way through the Riverside district and up through Uptown.
Oh no.
You come to Clarence's residence, a small townhouse as part of a rundown tenement block in one of the more seedy areas of Arkham. You park your car in the small curbside parking lot and then step outside. Is there anything you'd like to do before you enter the building?
What weapons do I have? I've got my gloves.
I'll say you can have your axe on you. I'll tell you the damage if you need to use it. I forgot to add it to the sheet. Because Boots had an axe, so gloves can have an axe too.
Oh, thanks. What does this place look like?
So it's it's a row of townhouses, 3 townhouses, and they're basically stuck to each other, running down a street. It's basically these 3 townhouses together form a very run-down-looking tenement building. They're all brownstone, covered in grime and industrial waste. It doesn't look like the kind of place that would be very safe or comfortable to live.
Okay. Yeah, do you want to go for it?
Just want to enter?
I want to approach very cautiously.
Yep, hand on your weapons.
Yeah.
You step up to the main entrance of the tenement block, and
I want to investigate the front. Like, when we get to a door, anyway, I want to look first.
very well. You walk up the path leading up through the main entrance of the tenement block, and then turn left, walking down a smaller pebble path to the very first townhouse, the one that Clarence supposedly rents. And I'd like you both to make spot hidden checks. Lieutenant Jones, you may make yours with advantage, as you specifically said you want to keep an eye out for anything.
Alright.
Oh, that was a pass both times.
Yep.
Not a pass.
As you walk up
Still not
to
a pass.
Still not a pass, that's fine. Lieutenant Jones has got it for you. As you make your way up to the brownstone, you notice that the blinds on all of the windows are drawn, like you would do at night, and you notice that the small lantern that hangs over the top of the front door and onto the porch is still burning.
That's not a good sign.
What would you like to do?
I want to see. I want to look at the door and
Yep.
see if it's been opened, if it's anything.
You examine the door. And you've seen break and entry. You've seen burglaries before, so you know what a forced door looks like, and you can't see any signs that this door has been forced. Furthermore, as you grab the doorknob and turn it, you discover that the door is still locked.
Okay, should we call out?
It's up to you.
He could be fine. But,
He's fine.
I mean, I'm not hopeful.
Can Boots use the hilt of his axe to go tap on the door really loudly?
Yeah, if you want. You grab the hilt of your axe and slam the wooden handle into the door. Knock, knock, knock!
Anybody there?
I'd like both of you to make listen checks, please.
Where's my listen? Can I push it? Wait, no, that was an extreme pass.
Extreme
I
pass,
was reading
you're
it the wrong
fine.
way
Oh,
around.
beautiful.
Anyone?
Good work.
I got a 5 and for some reason I thought I got a 50.
You both hear silence for about 5 seconds, and then the sound of shattering glass, like a drinking glass knocked off a table and shattering on the floor.
Okay.
Alright, I'm going to break down the door.
Break down the door. Okay. You may make
Did I announce myself as a policeman?
Yeah, if you want.
Is that law? Do I have to do that?
You're a policeman.
Yeah, you kind of
Police
have
brutality still.
Well, yeah,
a
you
thing.
have to
Fine.
announce
Yeah.
just in case anyone's in there.
Yeah, probably.
I am an
I guess
officer of the
I'll be
law
like-
and you're holding a knife. Get down.
I guess
I'm an
I'll be
officer of the law. Stop.
Police, I'm coming in.
Do you draw your gun?
Yes.
You draw your gun.
I'm American.
And, yep, you draw your gun and you call out, Arkham Police, we're coming in! Make a strength check to bash down the door.
Alright. That is an extreme pass. I love these dice.
This is
They're
fantastic.
amazing.
You're welcome.
There's a loud,
Thank you.
there's a loud crack of breaking wood as you force open the door and it swings open, revealing on the other side lodgings that seem to be in decent order. No obvious clues, but you notice that the way that the furniture and all of the personal effects are arranged point to a man who's largely given up on life and without his landlady's nagging would never tidy up. You see no signs. You see no signs of life or movement inside the apartment, though it is dimly lit.
Come out with your hands up. I don't know. Is there anyone? No, we heard that there was someone.
Yeah. So would you like to call out
Is there
again?
anyone kind of in there?
Is there anyone sort of kind of in there? No. I'll call out and ask them to step forward.
Come up with your hands up, maybe.
Please make both of you make listen checks again.
That was a fail.
A fail.
That is a fail by 19.
You both hear a loud thump coming from inside the apartment, beyond the entry, somewhere down the hallway.
I'll call out specifically for Clarence and ask if he's there.
Yep. Make a listen check with advantage, please.
Kitty, is that you or I?
Yeah, just you,
I-
Kitty. Just Kitty.
Yeah.
She called
I
out.
failed.
You failed. You hear another thump coming from inside the apartment, and then a sound you can't quite identify, most resembling the sound of a pitiful gargle. Mixed with a
I'm gonna
moan.
go investigate it.
Alright, gun still drawn.
Yep, of course.
You both and
Oh,
gloves.
that wasn't a fail. I read it wrong.
Oh, okay.
It was. Oh wait. No, it wasn't. I thought
Yeah.
it was 70, but it's a
Yeah.
10.
10. So you hear a loud thump coming from inside the apartment, and then you hear a strange gurgling, sort of mixed with a pained moan, coming from somewhere beyond the lounge room.
Well, I'm gonna go. Look, it sounds like he's hurt himself, maybe.
Would you like to keep your gun drawn?
Yes.
Very well. And gloves, will you have your axe drawn?
Well, absolutely.
You both step into the apartment. The lounge room appears to be clean, not decently tidy, and there are no signs of life. There is a hallway at the very back leading to a kitchen, a bedroom, and a bathroom.
I want to mention specifically that I'm here to help.
Yep. You call out, "We're here to help!" I'd like both of you to make listen checks, please.
And that one was a fail.
That is an extreme fail. Can I push it?
You can push, you can always push if you fail, but
Yeah, I
keep in mind,
might,
Two off.
I might
off.
push mine as well.
Yep.
And that was an extreme pass.
extreme pass. Okay, Lieutenant Jones, as you call out, "We're here to help," you hear the same unidentifiable sound again. This time seemingly coming directly from the kitchen at the end of the hallway.
Alright, I shall head towards the kitchen.
Still with your weapon drawn?
Yes.
Very well. Are you both going to... As you head down the hallway, you notice that on the way to the kitchen is a bedroom and a bathroom. Would you like to ignore them and just head straight to the kitchen?
I'll check the kitchen first.
Alright.
I personally, anyway. It's just
Yep.
free to...
Gloves and
Oh,
Lieutenant...
glass. Sorry.
Gloves and Lieutenant Jones, I'd like you both to make SAN checks, please.
How do I do that again?
So you roll your sanity as if it was a skill.
yeah.
And if you get under, you pass.
Ew.
That is an extreme pass.
Okay, for a pass, you lose 1d3 SAN. For a fail, you lose 1d6 SAN.
Oofed. 4 it is.
4, lovely. Well, that's not enough for temporary insanity. You step into the
Yeah.
dimly lit kitchen, and as you enter, you hear the same moaning and a loud thump, and your footsteps crackle over broken glass, a drinking mug that seems to have been flung off the counter. You step past the tiled counter into the kitchen proper, and then you see it. At first, you think it's Clarence Butterworth lying on the linoleum in the middle of the kitchen, but then you take a step forward, just enough to have it illuminated by the dim light. You see what is best described as a roughly human-sized pile of undifferentiated, disjointed bulbs of flesh and meat, wavering and quivering before you. If this is a creature with a body, you cannot determine which end is its tail and which end is its head, nor can you determine any limbs on this meaningless, shapeless blob of flesh. Then you see the most horrific thing of all. Right in the center of this terrible, terrible thing, you see what at first glance appears to be a human face just melded into the surface of the flesh. And as it sees you, its eyes roll in your direction, and it opens its mouth, releasing another gurgled cry.
Was about to get ready to administer first aid, but I think he's beyond that.
I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure he didn't make it.
I can't discern whether it's. I don't know what he looks like, do I?
No, you don't actually know what Clarence Butterfield looks like.
Yeah, well, he's definitely living up to his last name now.
As you stare at this horrible thing, it quivers even more, and then with a terrible, sickening, squishing sound, you notice a portion of the blob just above its face begin to coalesce into what appears to be a dislocated, disjointed arm, complete with a 7-fingered hand at the end. And it begins
charming.
And it begins to reach towards you. What would you like to do?
That is probably the perfect reaction to seeing something like that in the flesh.
I'm American. I'm gonna shoot it.
You're gonna shoot it? Go ahead,
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Make a firearms check. Well, I mean...
Which one?
If you had a gun and you saw that, you'd probably shoot it. So, yeah, make a firearms check, please.
What's my firearms? If my firearms isn't that great, then it really should be. That's a fail.
That's a fail.
To be fair, you are panicking right now.
You are panicking, your gun trembling in your hands. You raise it and bang, fire off a round. Your bullet slams into the tiled kitchen counter behind the creature. It continues reaching out with its hand. Please, Lieutenant Dick, make a dodge check.
How do I do that?
You're just rolling your dodge skill.
Okay. Alright,
Yep.
Which is half dex. So what's my dex? My dex is 40, which is garbage. So half would be 20. Sorry, I'm just typing that in.
Yep.
And that was a fail.
That was a fail. The creature groans.
I'm gonna die.
as its seven fingers clasp around your vest, pulling you towards it, and then its mouth opens. You hear it gurgling. Its bottom lip falls open further and further.
I'm gonna get eaten.
And then you see what appears to be yellow mucus building up inside its mouth. It gurgles once more. And then vomits a plume of the stuff right at you. And as it lands...
so lovely.
As it lands on your skin, as most of it lands on your vest, thankfully, but some of it splashes onto your hands and your face, and as it does, your skin begins to burn in pain, and you take...
Jesus. Just... No.
Yay, Eldritch Horror.
Four
points
of... You take 4 points of damage as this acidic substance begins to
One,
eat
two.
into your
Alright.
skin. Additionally,
I am
I
not
would
clear of any of
like
this shit.
both of you to please make sand checks again.
Gee, I wonder why this time.
So how much poison damage you take? Sorry.
Only her. You don't take anything. It was
Okay.
yeah,
I
4
failed
damage.
hard.
Yeah.
I failed
Oh,
real
no.
bad.
Oh no. Oh wow.
So that's a pass. That is a loss of 1 sand for you.
Ooh.
Just 1. And for a fail, that will be 1d3 if you failed, Kitty.
Okay.
Which again is understandable given your current situation. That is definitely something I'd be going, you know what? I don't think I'm coping with this.
I lost the whole 3.
Alright, gloves,
Who else has
what would
been
you
ripped apart
like?
before?
Gloves, what would you like to do?
Oh. So what state is Officer Dick in at the moment?
Officer Dick is currently clutching at her face and at his face and
Yes.
arms from this thing having vomited acidic bile all over her. However, it seems to be paying most of its attention to her right now, leaving you with an ample opportunity to either get out of here or slam your axe right into its face.
Ooh.
And before you think to run,
is-
just remember this is the cop that's investigating your cousin's death.
Yeah,
so,
death.
you know, keep that in mind.
Oh no, I got that part.
Save yourself. Save yourself.
Well, I don't think saying save yourself. You're currently burning from acid.
I'm too busy screaming.
Muffle, flesh.
Fresh flesh crackling.
Fresh crackle pop. That's hilarious.
Sausages.
Is it possible? Like, does this creature have any affinity to want to, like, can I try and goad it towards me to give Kitty a bit of a chance, or can I grab Kitty and just run?
You can if you want. All you have to do is pull Officer Dick away from its hand, which its arm is disjointed and very thin and narrow, so it looks like it wouldn't be too hard to just wrench the police officer away and get out of here.
Or just or not even throw my axe, just launch my axe,
Or just like,
swing it straight down its hand.
yeah, you could try that, or you could just like step forward and slam your axe into the thing into what you think is its face. It's entirely up to you.
You've got
Knowing half my luck, that is not its face, it's another avenue for another hand. I know how to play this game. Okay. Can I run at it, not at its face, but at the hand that is currently on Officer Dick?
Yep. And what would you like to do? Just pull Officer
Swing
Dick out of
down as
swing your
fast as I
axe?
can so I
Yep.
can grab, like, that is the plan, is to swing and grab.
Alright, go ahead and make a fighting brawl check, please.
Alright, let's do this. Was it time for gloves to be an American hero? It's axe time. Oh,
Good
like,
question. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pass.
That's a
Where's
pass.
your roll?
You rush forwards, raise your axe above your head and bring it swinging down on the creature's quote-unquote arm. There is a sickening squish as the blade of your axe sticks into the flesh and cuts through it. You may roll your damage, 1d6 plus your damage bonus if you have one.
D6 plus my damage bonus, I think it
A boy
is.
like you would be like 1d4.
I don't know if I have a damage bonus. Well,
I think you're
just
big enough to
probably-
have one. I think it'll be 1d. Yeah, so 1d6 plus 1d4.
Okay, 1d6 plus 1d4.
Swing for the fences, champ.
Alright, let's roll d6. 5 plus 1d4.
Good.
9.
9. Snap! You hear the sound of you hear what sounds like a large rubber band snapping open, and the strange arm goes flying across the kitchen as you cut it off the mound of flesh, and where it was, there is a large gaping hole that just begins to spurt blood in a spray over the two of you.
Ugh.
The creature looks at you with its face, its mouth opening wider and wider. And then its eyes begin to roll into the back of its head. And finally, the fleshy blob ceases to quiver.
Okay.
Oh, loot the room!
Oh,
That's just
I was
gonna
getting
stand
ready
my
to
fucking
run.
that's gonna stand my fucking memories tonight. That's
You got
very
lucky.
vivid imagination.
You got lucky and dealt just enough damage to kill it. It had 9 HP.
Was that
Gloves is
goddamn
just
sham-
gleaming and looking at himself.
Not to matter,
Swallow.
but I gotta ask, was that a shambling mound?
Yes. Well, the
Fucking
Call of
hell.
Cthulhu equivalent of it anyway. Well, actually,
I need
I
to
won't tell
thank,
you exactly what it was because you'll have to discover exactly
No,
what happens.
That's
in,
why I'm
next
saying
week's
not to
session.
matter.
Yeah.
But if that's the answer is no, then I won't press any further.
Now that you seem to be miraculously, finally safe in Mr. Butterfield's flat, what would you like to do?
I will thank Gloves profusely.
Yeah, and then probably throw up in the sink, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and then maybe maybe he has some kind of idea of what his brother was into now.
Yeah,
Or cousin,
well,
sorry.
now you have an
Either
idea,
yes
Gloves.
and no.
This is
Brother.
weird. Not what we used to back on the prairie.
Yeah, it's not like any farm
Told you it
animal
was
you've seen
dark,
before.
man. I told
It's a
you.
weird cow.
I told you it was dark. See?
Makes it ooh instead of a moo.
Oh God.
So,
Each time you milk it, it's just acid. My hands hurt.
Oh God.
Then, don't milk a pale cow.
yeah, I'm sure
You're
you
gonna
can
get
milk this
hurt.
thing. And so,
Yeah.
now that the apartment appears to be safe and quiet, I would like the both of you to please make spot hidden checks to give it a quick once over.
That is a regular pass.
Regular pass. And how did you do, Gloves?
That is a very, very big fail. Can't I just push that?
You
Oh
may
my gosh,
push
I
it.
love that GIF.
You may push it.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Okay. A quick but thorough search of the residence reveals no signs of Clarence Butterworth himself. Indeed, in the bedroom, you find what appears to be a photograph of Mr. Butterfield, standing next to what is obviously a recently acquired automobile, a shabby dark blue 1917 Abbott Detroit. He's standing right next to it with a beaming smile and chanting one last look at that terrible thing. You compare its face to the man in the photograph and find that they are not the same.
Okay.
Hooray.
Well, that means he might still be okay.
Oh, you got that at least.
Although I highly doubt it.
You also find in the bathroom, folded up next to the sink, in front of the toilet, a copy of the Arkham Inquirer that appears to be a few days old. It's currently folded over so that you can see an article on the third page, and someone, presumably Clarence Butterfield, has circled it with a red pen. I will put it in Discord so that you can see what it looks like.
Okie dokie. I'll get you to read it out because I suck at it.
Very well, very well. I'll just get it so everyone in
To
stream
save
can
the
see it.
audience some sanity.
It says the headline is "Eccentric Adventurer Taken Ill." On Friday, noted Egyptologist Arthur Ormond was locked away in Arkham Asylum after allegedly attacking members of his staff with a pair of scissors. Early Friday morning, Mr. Ormond's butler, Mr. Henry Rhodes, was woken by sounds of distress coming from Mr. Ormond's study. Assuming that a burglary was in progress, the plucky manservant contacted the police before picking up his service revolver and hastening towards the disturbance. "I couldn't believe what I saw," Mr. Rhodes told the Globe. Told the Inquirer. "Mr. Ormond was covered in blood and raving about monsters from the stars. The brave butler managed to restrain his master before the police arrived, but not without sustaining a number of vicious wounds to his hands and body." Mr. Ormond had recently returned from an archaeological dig near Cairo, Egypt, where he is believed to have found a number of rare artifacts, including a legendary statue known as the Idol of Thoth. Rumour has it that the statue is made of pure diamond, and a curse will befall anyone who lays eyes upon it. Mr. Ormond has been committed to the celebrated Arkham Asylum, where he has been diagnosed with extreme stress due to overwork during his extensive travels. Dr. Chester Merrick, the facility's lead physician, denied that there was any evidence of a curse, but also seemed surprised by the swiftness and severity of Mr. Ormond's condition. We have also learned that Mr. Ormond's entire collection, including the infamous Idol of Thoth, has been purchased by the Arkham Museum of Antiquities and will be on display from 5 p.m. on May 22nd.
Ooh.
I will take this with me to show to smarter people.
Yes.
I like where this is going.
Is there anything else you would like to do in Clarence Butterfield's residence?
Man cave.
Take a look around.
Is there a firearms closet?
No, you were not able to find one.
Alright. Oh, actually, is there any more sharper weapons?
I mean,
considering
compared
this
to
is
your
this is
axe.
a student. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is a student's house, man. I don't think you're
Yeah.
gonna get much here.
Compared to your axe, maybe no. Like, there are kitchen knives, but your axe is probably better than those. I mean, this is a wood-cutting axe.
No, it's alright.
Very well.
I want to see if I can find any evidence of where Clarence might be.
Very
we
well.
still don't know.
I would like you to please make, let me see, what would be appropriate. I would like you to please make a, well, you know how to profile a crime scene, so make a law check, please.
Alright. Can I push it?
Yes, you can.
That was worse.
It was worse.
Yeah.
You
That was
quickly
a fail.
You quickly profile this crime scene, and it takes you about an hour to do a thorough search of the flat. And
I just remembered what I actually wanted to. Never mind.
yeah,
I
well,
wanted to inspect my wound.
oh yeah, you could do that in a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could do that now, and then I'll describe what you find. You notice that after the creature is dead, its acid is no longer burning into your skin, but your arms and portions of your face are now very red and are covered with are pockmarked with scorch marks and are bleeding in several places. It doesn't appear to be a serious wound, but it might be a good idea to apply some first aid if you possibly can.
I can.
Yep. So make a first aid check.
Where is my first aid? That is a pass.
So you recover 1 hit point and spend a few moments with gloves' help, applying dressing and bandaging to the parts of your skin that were affected by the acidic bile.
And so I don't look like I'm about to turn into a monster?
No, you don't. And then you conduct a thorough search of the flat. It takes about an hour, and at the end of it, you're disappointed to find that there do not appear to be any signs of a struggle in Clarence Butterfield's home. Rather, based on the state of his home and the fact that it is decently tidy, and also the fact that the shoe rack near the front door is empty, and a cork board in a kitchen that is meant for holding keys is similarly empty, you are left with the strange conclusion that Clarence Butterfield left the home of his own accord. And this raises only more questions than answers.
It does.
Of course it does.
We cross to... after that, you decide you've spent enough time in this forsaken townhouse, and choosing not to look at the terrible thing in the kitchen anymore that is now seemingly dissolving into a pool of blood and small piles of vaguely pink-coloured powder. You shut the door behind you, relock it, and make your way back to the police cruiser. We now cross to Newt and Professor Longfellow, who have decided to visit Miskatonic University.
I certainly hope the others are having a nice, relaxing time searching for that Butterfield chap. I'm sure it's all going splendidly.
I would like Professor Longfellow to please make a drive auto check. And you may make it with advantage, because you know where Miskatonic is.
I know where I'm going. My drive auto again. Can I spend 2 luck points on that? Thank you.
Yes, you may.
I am back, and what have I missed?
We're just getting to your...
David, how long have you been gone for?
I've typed in the chat, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
Oh,
Okay.
no, you're fine, yep. No, we're just getting to your bit now.
Okay.
How did you do on the drive auto check, Professor?
Yeah, I've spent 2 luck points, that's a pass.
2 luck points, yep. So it's a short distance from the museum to Miskatonic University, and it only takes about 20 minutes to get there, which leaves you with ample time to follow multiple leads once you arrive on campus. You park your car in the faculty car park, which makes Newt visibly giddy with excitement, and then you kill the engine and step out onto the cobblestone footpath leading onto the campus proper. Obviously, you are here to investigate Professor Vincent Gray, but there are also some other leads that you might follow. First of all, Newt, it occurs to you that the notes that you read that were supposedly written by Butterfield back in the museum, the references to Thoth and Nut and Khonsu, you might be able to do a search of the Orn Library to see if you find any volumes that might glean any knowledge about this particular subject. Otherwise, you may head over to the what was it again? Let me see. You may head over to the Pugmire wing and see if you can make an appointment with Professor Gray.
Might make an appointment.
Or see if you can arrange to see him.
Yeah, I was going to say, imagine if I'm the one asking, it wouldn't be too difficult as a fellow member of the
that's
faculty.
probably true.
Well, I was thinking if we made an appointment and it was like, you guys have to wait an hour or something, then we could go look in the library.
That's fair enough.
Either way, we'll go do that first.
Yeah.
Very well. You head over to the Pugmire Wing. A familiar building to Newt, as this is the home of the Faculty of Occult and Archaeology, which is where... and also to you too, Professor Longfellow. Indeed, this is where the office of Professor Henry Armitage is, up on the 3rd floor. You push open the great oak doors and step into the reception room, where a thinly, almost skeletal man of around age 60 looks up from the large book he is reading behind the reception desk. He hefts the gigantic tome onto the table next to him and looks at you and says, "Yes, do you have business with the faculty today? Oh, Professor Longfellow, it's you. Yes, your office is just as you left it, unless there's something else I may do for you."
Do I happen to know this man's name? Because I would hate to be rude.
Yes, Professor Vincent Gray. You've got his business card.
No, I meant the guy at the desk.
Oh, the guy at the desk.
Yes.
Yes, you know him as Horace.
Ah, Horace, old boy. I hope this day finds you well. We were actually wondering if we could get an appointment with Mr. Vincent, if you don't mind. A bit of a talk between an interesting topic that's come up recently in our studies.
He looks at you and then he looks down at the guest book on the counter in front of him, and he says, "Well, there's nothing here saying Professor Gray is busy right now. I'm sure if you want to head up and speak to him yourself, he won't mind. Office 366 on the 3rd floor, I believe it is."
Oh, splendid. Well, thank you, and I hope that your reading is a truly enjoyable tale. Shall we?
Would you like to head up with Professor Longfellow Newt? Okay.
Yeah, may as well.
Professor Gray's office, Office 366, is found on a little visited corridor high up on the 3rd floor in the isolated westernmost building that houses the occult and archaeology departments. The electric lighting on this floor has been damaged in the recent bad weather and has not yet been fixed, meaning that the entire time you're walking towards the office, the dim blue light constantly flickers on and off.
Get the cells.
When you were... Yeah, university lack of funding. When you arrive at the office... When you arrive at the office, sadly, you find that it appears to be empty. Knocking on the door reveals that Professor Gray is not actually in residence, and the office door itself is locked.
Such a shame. I was hoping you could have made this a little bit easier for us. I suppose our best bet would probably be to perform some other task while we wait for him to return, I suppose.
Well, I guess we could go to the library to search for references to Thoth and
yes.
Yumbo up and Who's the Bajiggy.
I'd like you both to make spot hidden checks, please.
Certainly.
Okay.
Push that.
I'm gonna push.
And that's a pass.
And that's a fail.
Oh dear.
As you're both about to turn away and leave, Professor Longfellow, you notice a small yellow post-it note wedged into the side of the door. You pull it out, and it reads, "Currently ill. Will be back next week. Vincent Gray."
Strange.
It appears that he's going to be appears he's been away for quite some time, and will be away for a few more days yet.
Surprisingly odd that old Horace never mentioned this.
Maybe we should try and give the professor here a visit at home.
I suppose there's no harm in doing a house call. Yeah.
Maybe you could get his address from
Horace, maybe?
Yes. Wait here a moment. I'll pop back in with old Horace and see if I can get
Leaving.
him.
Well, while you chat with Horace and get the address, I might go to the library and try a real quick search.
Ah, yes, excellent idea. I shall meet you there momentarily.
Very
No
well. Head back downstairs to the brightly lit reception room, and Horace looks up at you, Professor Longfellow, and he says, "Oh, you've seen him already? That was quick."
Actually, it's I hold up the post-it note, and it seems the dear professor's a tad under the weather. I don't see. He seems to have left in quite a rush. Must be something severe. I don't suppose you could prevent me with an address. I do wish to imply this is very important work we're studying, we're working on, and I'd hate to leave him out of the lurch and leave it waiting another week. Rather urgent, you see.
Horace takes the slip of paper and he reads it, his eyebrows twisting as he frowns, and he says, "Professor Gray did not lodge any notice with the faculty that he was taking sick leave. And unfortunately, several months ago, he made quite a big deal about having his address stricken off the registry."
Oh, that's highly irregular. I thought it was part of the entire registry to have your name on, regardless. I mean, if I'd known that, I could have asked, or I could have had people hounding my door, but you know how it is. I thought it was curious as well that he hadn't mentioned it with you, otherwise I would have gone to him directly.
He said it was a matter of great personal safety, if I recall. If you desperately need to see him, I suppose I could... Well, no. I could get into a lot of trouble if I let you into his office.
Oh, I'm sure Vincent won't mind. Look, if you're truly concerned about it, I promise to both the President and the Queen of England that I will leave his office exactly the way I found it. You have my word on that. I'm more interested in the removal of tombs rather than other people's belongings.
Please
well,
make
the ones,
at least yes.
the ones that have been buried for a few thousand years first.
Please make a persuade check, Professor Longfellow.
Oh dear. Yeah. Oh, something would be nice. Oh, actually, that's only 2 off. I can spend the 2 luck points for that.
Horace thinks for a moment, and he says, "Very well, I trust you, Professor Longfellow. You've always been good to me." He says, "Here." He reaches under the counter and lifts up a key ring with an ornate silver key dangling off it. He says, "This should be the key that will let you into his office."
That's a good lad. Well, I should be back shortly with key in hand. No worries here.
You head back upstairs, and once you're under the flickering electrical light again, you insert the silver key into the lock, turn it, and sure enough, it clicks.
Yeah, I just realized this is technically the 1920s. I should have said the King of England. Well,
Yes.
that's
Ah,
going
well.
to get me shot. No one tell my mother.
Once you're through the door, you're faced with a small stack of correspondence that has been pushed under the door and is now piled up against it. A quick investigation of these letters reveals that the professor has been away for at least 5 days, and that a number of students and university staff are very keen to get in touch with him. His office appears to be in decent enough condition, though it is in much the state that he would have left it in, with papers and books piled onto his desk, and and his personal bookshelf currently in disarray. I would like you to please make a library use check.
Let's see what we can make of this kerfuffle. That is 37. That is a pass.
37, that is a pass. You spend about 15 minutes searching through his office, organising all of the organising the mess into something that at least makes sense and is easier to go through, and you find a couple of things of note. The first is an old gas bill that contains the professor's home address, located about an hour and a half's drive outside of Arkham. And a manor house on its own estate, according to the bill. You find a calendar with the 8th to the 11th of May, and with the 8th to the 11th of April, and the 7th to the 10th of May, all circled in blue. As you see this, I'd like you to make an intelligence check, please.
21, which I believe my intelligence is it's still a hard pass.
You realise, as your heart sinks, that these dates coincide both with Arthur Ormond's collection being sold to the museum and the disappearance of the idol. Furthermore, and this unsettles you somewhat, you notice that on the calendar, both of these chunks of dates coincide with those of the full moon of their respective months.
Full moons. Still, I'd rather not think he's a thief, but this is quite perplexing.
Finally...
So did you say that that bill was his old address or his new address?
His new address. It's just an old bill from several months ago.
That one I will quietly...
It was just scattered in amongst the papers.
Actually, no. I won't steal it. I will happily take a small, blank piece of paper and just
write down the address. Very well.
Yes, I promised Horace, of course.
The bookcases that surround the room are of mundane subjects: psychology, Dark Ages history, the Napoleonic Wars, but also contain a large amount of books on the subject of Egyptology, but unfortunately, nothing that you haven't read. Finally, scattered in amongst the papers on his desk, you find a half-written letter addressed to Miss Ethel Browning at the Arkham Museum of Antiquities. It reads, "Dear Miss Browning, I am writing once again. I implore you not to add the idol of Thoth to your exhibition. The artifact is," the next two words are crossed out, "highly dangerous," replaced with "of great archaeological significance," and should be, the next word is crossed out, "confined," and then replaced by "preserved at the Miskatonic."
Seems the old boy did not want this getting out, but also didn't want them to know how important it was.
I would like you to make an idea check, please. Intelligence check.
Ideas.
I wish I'd gone with you now, because I would like to point something out, but I can't because I'm not there.
Ah, dang.
Yeah,
Well,
when you're
there's
told,
always-
yeah.
I'll just...
Yeah.
that is a pass.
You both you realize that based on this letter and the dates on the calendar, it seems that Professor Gray was at the very least keeping an eye on the idol of Thoth. But was he trying to acquire it for himself, or was he trying to ensure that...
ensure that it doesn't get loose, or it
Yes.
doesn't fall into someone else. Ah. So not so much a thief, but possibly trying to protect people from something.
Very possibly.
Interesting.
And so,
Egyptian.
you take one last look at the office, and then you turn around and pull the door shut behind you and relock it, and head out to the university proper to meet up with Newt.
Well, after dropping the key back.
Oh
of
yes,
course.
after giving it back to Horace, who thanks you for returning it. It says, "I hope you found what you were looking for."
Oh, I shall. This should hopefully make things a little bit clearer in the future. Thank you so much for your time. I just suppose you'll be free for lunch later on this week, once this little matter of mine's wrapped up.
He says, yes, I know a place downtown. Do keep in touch with me, Professor Longfellow. I would be very much appreciate that.
Oh, of course. I shall see you later.
Okay, we cross over to Newt. The 3-story building, known as the Orne Library, contains over 400,000 books, including volumes of such rarity that the collection has become famous worldwide. Not even the libraries of Cambridge or Boston can rival it. You walk right through the big oak doors and find yourself once again in the vast open room adorned with hundreds, nay, thousands of books stacked in shelves that reach up to the roof, almost 20 feet high, towering above you. Would you like to conduct this search yourself, or would you like to hire the librarian, get the librarian to help you?
Well, first off, because I've studied Egyptology and such and the occult.
Yes, so you'll have an advantage.
But I've definitely heard of these names that I'm going to be looking for.
Yes,
have I? Or...
yes, you know the
Yep.
names you're looking for, so you will make your library use check with advantage.
Well, I guess basically I'm just going to ask. I'm going to go and ask one of the librarians where the section is on Egyptology, specifically the more occulty Egyptology stuff.
Yep.
And then when I...
Yep, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And then I was going to say, when I get there, then I'm going to just search myself, so that...
Yep.
Yeah.
So you head over to the main counter and you see the same young woman as last time you were here. Currently she's in the process of pulling books out of the return slot and stacking them on a metal trolley. She smiles as she sees you and says, "Oh, Newt, back again, are we? I hope that thing you were researching a couple of months ago panned out well."
It panned out. Satisfactorily for me, anyway.
She smiles.
Thank you for your help with that.
She smiles and she says, "It was a pleasure. What can I do for you today?"
I happen to be looking for books of this certain category. And I tell her the category that I would be looking for.
She says, yes, come with me and I'll show you." And she leads you across the library, through the second aisle and into a small alcove at the very back, where there are 3 smaller shelves arranged in a U shape, forming almost like its own little hutch. entirely devoted to more obscure Egyptology. You may add temporarily 20% to your library use skill, and you may make a library use check with advantage, please.
Okay, so now I have 60 library and I get advantage. Watch
Yes.
me fail
Yeah,
miserably.
watch you roll 100 twice. If ever there was a time.
Oh, there goes. That's a 4. So that is a 94 or an 8.
Even knowing...
Take the 8, son.
So I'll take the 8. Thank you very much.
Even knowing what you are looking for, your search still takes about 20 minutes, but eventually you find the volume you're looking for. The Book of the Dead, an analysis for the 20th century, 1921, by Dr. Thomas Williams. This volume reveals that the myth that Clarence was referring to in his notes seems to be a little-known story about how the Egyptian calendar came to be formed. An excerpt from the book reads, "In the early stages of creation, the sky goddess Nut was seduced by the earth god Geb, and she fell pregnant. Furious with her infidelity and also worried that her offspring might dispose him from power, the supreme sun god Ra cast a curse upon her. From that moment on, Nut would not be able to give birth on any of the 360 days of the year. Thoth, the great intermediary, came to the aid of Nut and devised a plan to outmaneuver Ra. Thoth appointed the moon deity Khonsu, who was a great lover of the game Senate, and challenged him to a contest. Thoth proposed that if he won, his prize would be a measure of the moon's light. Khonsu was so confident in his abilities that he accepted. However, Thoth thoroughly outplayed him and won. In claiming his prize, Thoth took the light that he had won from the moon and gave it to Nut. This transfer caused the Earth orbit to increase its length from 360 days per year to 365. Nut was thus able to give birth on the extra days, as they were not part of the true Earth year."
Okay.
You also notice several other references throughout the book, such as the idol of Thoth and the Pharaoh of the Blackest Night. Both of these terms appear fleetingly in a small number of texts, all of which cite them as apocryphal and link them with a mythical city known only as Nialat. Nialat was an ancient trading hub which was said to have been troubled by civil unrest, leading to cataclysmic rioting and destruction.
God damn it. Okay.
The book states that the full story of the city of Nialat may be found in a text known as the Akhenaten Fragments from 1340 BC. However, you cannot see this text in the shelf with the other books.
Okay, so what's the text called?
The Akhenaten Fragments. Akhenaten.
Fragment.
It's an 18th dynasty Egyptian text.
Okay. Okay. I put the book back.
Yep.
Hopefully memorizing what I've just read, or enough to pass on. I go back to my friend, the librarian,
Yep.
and ask if she knows of any copies of the Akhenaten fragments.
Let me check for you, she says. And she opens up the logbook in front of her, runs her finger down the spine, and then she says, yes, it's currently checked out by Professor Vincent Gray of the Occult and Archaeology faculty.
This world is full of coincidences, is it not? Well then, I thank you for your time. I believe this is all I need here. Was this all I was researching?
Yes, that was all you were researching.
Yes. Okay, well, I go wait at the front of the library waiting for Professor...
You thank her for your time,
yeah.
and you are soon rejoined by Professor Longfellow, and
Longhorn, that's it, not Longhorn.
you inform each other of your individual findings. Now, if you'd like to point out something about... Yes.
I would like to ask Professor Longfellow, did you find any evidence of letters where he was threatening the lives of the workers of the museum? Because the letter you have described is very formal, very polite, and seems to be more of a persuading instead of an intimidation technique.
It's the funniest thing. As far as I know, I only found the one letter. I did only find the one letter. Yeah, it's the darndest thing. It doesn't say anything at all like what the
lady made it fairly abundant that he had been, and I'm taking on your fucking accent again.
Sure you have. It's a very good accent. It's one of my favorites. Yes.
It reminds
made
me
it very-
of Sir Anthony Hopkins
Oh,
Yes, it
in
does.
Red
you
2.
You have no idea
yes.
how much that I'm happy that
Means to him.
to even be even considered even close to that. Oh, sorry. Continue with your question. I'm trying not to gush you.
Yes, Miss What's-Her-Face made it very clear that he had been threatening them. So, I feel that maybe she hasn't been completely honest with us.
No.
Also, those dates. Would it be possible that the sarcophagus only opens on the full moon?
You have no idea the smile I just got on my face.
George, I think you might be onto something. Of course, it wouldn't open any other time apart from... No.
I'm gonna let you know. I've been half asleep while Kitty and just because I've been up since 2, obviously.
Fair enough.
Got a drink, had some more food, and I was awake for M2's part, and that's all. I'm remembering all that now.
But
I don't know. I don't know if it's correct.
No, I mean, it definitely makes a hell of a lot of sense. If he's been watching this thing as closely as he has, he seems to know more about than anyone else. He's been pleading, like he definitely. That's probably why all those books have been missing. He's been clearly planning this out well in advance.
And so, as you talk amongst yourselves and make your way back to the university parking lot, you find Lieutenant Jones and Gloves waiting for you. The police cruiser parked beside your car, and you quickly bring each other up to speed on what you've found. And
I was going to say, there's going to be 2 very different conversations.
Yeah, I would like Newt and Professor Longfellow to make sand checks, please.
There we go.
And here
What
we
is
go.
my sound? Oh, my
it's us! Hooray!
which dice have been good to me tonight? I'm gonna need it.
I imagine he starts off the conversation with, we have some curious questions of our own, something we definitely did talk about. What happened with you? Oh my word.
Pile
What's
of
wrong with your face?
blob of flesh, you
My.
say?
Yes, that's... and did this go well? To shreds, you say?
I passed.
So for a pass, that will be a sand loss of 1, just 1, because you haven't
one?
seen the
Okay.
thing, you only just heard about it
Yes,
secondhand.
Yep, fair enough.
And for a fail, it'll be 1d3. But Henry Longfellow, you're not quite sure what to make of this, but Newt, in spite of yourself, you find yourself smiling, knowing that what you are embroiled in is indeed something along the same lines as the events of 2 months ago. And Lieutenant Jones's experience just now proves that there are indeed otherworldly forces involved.
Well then, I feel that this has become very interesting indeed. We should see this to the end.
Yes.
Well
I
said, my
should
dear
try
boy.
to not punch you in the face.
And so, as we enter the climax, you have two avenues you may go through. The first is to take that hour-and-a-half drive to Professor Vincent Gray's manor in the countryside outside of Arkham, or you may return to the museum and put Newt's theory about the full moon to the test and see what you uncover.
I feel personally Newt is more interested in trying to get to the bottom at the museum with the lady potentially lying to us about the death threats and the full moon theory.
That's correct.
That is Newt's feeling.
For that. Yes.
I feel like if we go to the professor's house, we're just going to find a monster. So let's go to the museum.
Also,
Well.
if
Yep.
we went to the manor house and that turned out to be nothing, that is a minimum of 3 hours wasted.
Yes.
Yes.
And by this
we are
time-
on a time frame.
Yeah, by this time it's about 2 in the afternoon, so...
Well, very, very well. As long as we can have time to check on him later. I didn't know him very well, but fellow
Keep
professor.
in mind, though, it is about 2 in the afternoon, meaning you have 3 hours left, meaning that if you were fast and efficient and didn't spend a lot of time at the manor, you would be able to get there and back just in time.
Does anyone have a high enough drive auto to get there and back without getting lost?
Gloves has 50.
Yeah.
We would also need navigate. You'd also need navigate to get there.
Yeah,
I have 50 for navigate.
I feel.
So what I'm hearing is we have a 50-50 chance of succeeding or failing.
possibly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It's entirely up to you.
This is hard.
Yeah, Newt's opinion hasn't changed, so it's up to you guys. It's the majority rules.
Well, there is the off chance if he's counting the dates, we may still run into Gray at the actual museum himself.
Always a possibility.
Yeah, if he's tracking the dates.
Hmm.
Also, I'd like you all to make intelligence checks, please.
Oh, thank God. That's a 6. So
You're not
that's
my real mom.
I'm so happy to think it is.
I got a normal pass.
Extreme.
I got a very big fail.
As Newt mentions
I
the
got
mu-
90.
Oh dear.
as Newt mentions the museum, and you try to think where you would like to go, Professor Longfellow, you reach into the glove compartment of Lieutenant Jones's patrol car and pull out a pocketbook contained within. You're not interested in the contents of the pocketbook, but you flip it over to look at the calendar on the back. And after briefly checking it, you're able to confirm that tonight is the night of the full moon.
Yes. Just, seems that a lot of whatever's going on seems to be leading to this particular date. Wait, if they do the display tonight and that thing opens, there's going to be this is an opening night for the exhibition. There's going to be a museum full of people.
Make an
This is realistic.
intelligence check, please, Newt and Professor Longfellow.
Well, that's a 14, so that's another extreme pass.
Can I push those or no?
You can push it, yes.
Okay, because I got a 90.
No. Pretty.
And then I got a 37, which is a hard pass.
Outstanding.
You search your minds and you remember part of the legend. Nialat was an ancient trading hub which was said to have been troubled by civil unrest, leading to cataclysmic rioting and destruction. Then you remember...
Oh.
Yes.
We need to shut it down.
Yeah,
Make-
we need to cancel this event. If that thing opens in a group full of people, it could very well go the same way.
And I need both of you to make sand checks, please, for that realization.
Yep, there we go.
And I have a feeling we'll be coming to this.
And I failed.
That's an ace. Clearly, I know my history. I'm not panicking over the death of a civilization. It's not the first time a civilization's fallen to ruin. Shan't be the
I need
last.
you to fill in the officer on.
Yeah, at the moment,
Yeah.
it's just Newt and the professor looking
Yeah,
at each other
and
going,
you're-
Yeah.
"What is
Don't
he
worry.
doing?"
What is that? Yes.
Wait,
What is this? No, why? Oh, no.
So for failing, that will be 1d6, San, and for passing, that'll be 1d3.
Four sanity, 4 fucking sanity. Lovely.
One. Hooray!
That makes me down to 35 sanity.
It's just the two of us sitting
Oh,
in this
gee, oh,
car
man.
just making.
Oh,
random
jeez, Rick.
noises. Oh, jeez, this is going
Jeez,
well.
Dick, I'm going crazy, man.
Boy, you little piece of shit. This is why you don't fuck around with things.
So, where would you like to go?
And have you filled me in?
Yeah, have you
yes,
filled...
we fill in this.
Yep.
We just shut down the museum.
Yes, it's probably the only way to stop this entire thing from turning into a cataclysmic nightmare. To the museum, post
I will
haste.
use my authority.
Oh, lovely. Everyone loves a bit of authority.
Would you like to each take your own car, or would you like to travel in one vehicle to expedite the travel?
I feel like I believe the police car would probably be our best
Yeah,
bet, simply
bit
because,
faster than yours.
chuck the sirens on, skip the lights.
Dick, can I use the loudspeaker?
I want to use the siren.
Get in the back.
The back behind the bloody bars.
Yeah.
Very well.
Where you can't touch anything.
Where you belong.
Oh.
I wind down the window and hang my head out the door. My tongue flapping and
There's
everything.
no window or wind down the bull windows in
gonna
the
say.
back.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the 1920s. You should just be glad there are windows back there.
Yeah.
As you turn the key in the ignition and bring the engine to life and back out of the university parking lot, leaving Professor Longfellow's white Bentley behind, begin to drive around the perimeter of the campus, making your way back to the museum. You're currently driving along the street that runs parallel to the edge of the Miskatonic University campus, and you see, parked at the end of the street, half up on the footpath, the other half on the road, a shabby dark blue 1917 Abbott Detroit.
What now?
That was Clarence?
Yeah, it's Clarence's car. What would
Alright.
you like to
We
do?
have 3 hours. We could probably go.
We've got time. All right, let's.
I mean, I'll probably do that whole. What exactly are we stopping for? I thought time was of the essence.
I saw Clarence's car.
Yeah, it's right at the end. It's right in front of you at the end
Yeah.
of the street. You're driving towards it now.
In my defense, I haven't seen his car.
All right,
Yeah.
is he out of the car?
I'd like you to make a spot hidden check, please.
Can I make one as well?
Yes, you may. Anyone who'd like to make one
That
may
was a
make
car.
one.
That's a
The
pass.
back of the car. Fuck yes.
You see,
I'll make one anyway.
Lovely.
I failed anyway.
you see
Oh.
the shadowed silhouette of a man sitting in the driver's side of the vehicle, apparently waiting.
Do we...
All right, I want to stop the car and get out and approach him.
Alright. How far away from his car would you like to stop?
Right next to it.
Okay, so you're going to just
Or right in
drive
front
up.
of it.
You're right
I
in
don't
front
know.
of it. Okay. As you drive towards the car, the shadow within does not move. You keep driving until you are side by side with the car. The man in the driver's seat, Clarence Butterfield, turns to look at you. I'd like all of you to make sand checks, please.
Yeah.
Ah.
I believe that's a pass for me.
Woo! That's a pass.
My boy has sand for days. It's rock solid.
The man, or at least you think it's a man, turns to face you. You recognize his face from the photograph. It is definitely Clarence Butterfield, but where his eyes would be, there is nothing. 2 black opals staring blankly at you as you pass. If you passed the sand check, that is a sand loss of 1d3. If you failed, it is 1d6.
1d.
You say
What was it?
Okay,
Sorry.
what?
1d3 for passing, 1d6
1d3.
for failing.
That's another
Okay.
1. I'm slowly chipping away at this. With waves at the shore.
Yay! A 1.
Ooh.
So I cannot afford to lose much more.
And as
Fair.
he sees you, he smiles coldly and raises his hand, holding out his palm towards you. And there, in his palm, seemingly carved into his flesh, is a symbol. A symbol that you have not seen before. You may all make Cthulhu Mythos checks, please.
What's mine?
Oh god, I need a beat an
Mine
8.
is the whole entire 6.
I have. I can't even roll for Cthulhu.
That
Mythos.
was a fail.
Can I roll on a cult?
Can I spend 6 luck to get
You
to
can. You can
pass?
spend luck on it, yep.
I'm gonna
Never mind,
spend 6 luck.
I'll just let him tell us, because
Newt, you recognize the symbol, circular, with a triangle carved into it, and an eye carved into the middle of the triangle. The same symbol used in the summoning circle in that house 2 months ago. The symbol of the Black Pharaoh.
I tell the others, this is the symbol of the Pharaoh, guys.
But you do
It
not
was
have a
used-
chance. You do not have a chance to tell anyone. For the moment you recognize what it is, Butterfield's palm and the symbol itself begin to glow a bright blue. And then you, and only you, Newt,
Alpha.
begin to see particles of magical energy departing from the eye in the center of the symbol and shooting up through the man's fingers and then crackling under his fingertips. Something is about to happen. What would you like to do?
Can I roll a Cthulhu Mythos to see if I know any counter to what he's doing?
Yes, you may.
This is last ditch attempt because I reckon we're going to die.
Oh. Splendid.
Officers gun poop.
I just got this character. I'd rather not lose it, thank you.
No, that's a fail, and I'm not going to push it because I don't want the outcome to be worse than it already is going to be.
Oh, bollocks.
So I don't do anything. I try to rack my brain and fail.
Yep. You spend a few seconds racking your brain. You're unable to come up with anything. Butterfield smiles wider, and then electricity begins to crackle through his hand.
I should have just kept driving. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. You were doing your job as an officer. This is perfectly in character.
You have
What kind of shoes are we wearing?
What shoes are you wearing?
I would assume just normal runners, but do
Normal
they
runners.
have rubber? Do they have rubber soles?
Yeah, they've got rubber soles.
I don't want to go. I'm wearing rubber-soled shoes. Back then were shoes rubber-soled.
Well, let me see. Let me just check.
To the internet.
Yeah.
Rubber sole shoes, 1920s. Yeah, most shoes in the 1920s had rubber soles.
Get out of the car and make sure your feet are touching the ground. And I try to get out of the car. I'm in the back of the car. I can't fucking get out.
I would like...
He still yell at you two to get out of the car and touch your feet to the floor.
So first of all, I
can let you out of the fucking...
Yeah, but you have to get out first. You have to get out first so you can pull the seat down. I would like Professor Longfellow and Lieutenant Jones to please make dex checks.
Yeah, this is 50-50 for the old boy.
That was
That's a 1! Holy shit!
Yeah. You're not wasting... You failed. Okay. Yeah. Professor Longfellow, you're not wasting any time. As soon as Newt shouts, you bash the door open and leap out, making sure you're standing up straight in the middle of the road. Meanwhile, Officer Richard, you're struggling, trying to let yourself out, but also help Newt out at the same time. And unfortunately, Newt, I'd like you to make a dex check with disadvantage.
Okay. Fuck. I saw the first roll and I'm like, oh, that's good. And then the second one was a 79, which is like 20 above what mine is, so it's a fail.
Okay, yeah. So, Lieutenant Jones is struggling, half out of the car himself, but also trying to pull the driver's side seat forward so that Gloves and Newt can get out. Gloves manages to scramble over the top of the seat and crawl out at the last moment, falling forward, spread-eagled on the road. But unfortunately, both Lieutenant Jones and Newt are still in the car when the lightning bolt shoots from Butterfield's hand. And as the electricity leaves him, his smile vanishes. The opal eyes vanish. His face vanishes. His entire body just poofs out of existence. The lightning bolt strikes the car, the electricity surging through the metal. Lieutenant Jones and Newt, you were both struck by the electricity and flung from the car into the street as the car bursts into flames, and you take 9 points of damage.
I'm dead.
I'm on 1.
I'm on -1.
Yep.
Oh, Newt is dead.
Yep, Newt is dead, unfortunately.
I cannot live longer than 2 sessions.
Wow, of all the things that you were the only one who saw that was coming, and you're the only one that died.
Died from it. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Jones, please make a Constitution check as you have taken a major wound.
Alright, how do I... Okay.
That
was a fail.
That is a fail. And with that, overtaken by pain, your eyes roll into the back of your head and you pass out, losing consciousness, lying sprawled in the middle of the street. That leaves you, Professor Longfellow, and Gloves in the middle of the street. With
the 2 people that don't know what's going on properly.
Yeah. With a car that is currently burning and with a police cruiser that is currently burning and
we hadn't
unusable.
left the university yet, so he can go back to his car.
He can.
What am I supposed to do about you two? You're unconscious. Wait, are you unconscious or are you dead?
Me?
I know Newt's fucking dead.
Newt's dead. Officer Jones is unconscious.
Yeah, so you're unconscious. He's dead.
Well, Boots has got... Gloves has got first aid, I think.
Gloves
I
does
have
have
first aid.
first aid.
I have first aid, but...
Both stabilize me and leave.
Yeah. So Gloves looks around. He
Time is of
says,
the essence, soldier.
Yes, but the comrades are dying in my arms. Wait, what is one to do?
Save the world.
Gloves looks around. He sees Newt's charred corpse sprawled in the middle of the street. Officer Jones lying unconscious. He rushes over, ripping the trunk of the burning police cruiser open, and pulling out the first aid kit. He rushes over to where Officer Jones lies unconscious in the middle of the street and attempts to patch him up. And he's going to push that because that's a critical fail. And
His idea of first aid is just to punch you until you get back up again.
he manages to stabilize you, covering up your wounds, but you do not recover any HP, and you do not regain consciousness.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to call for help because I'm guessing
Yeah.
other people would have noticed the
Yeah.
explosion.
In fact, people are starting to gather around now, and white in the face, you look at them and you just shout, "Well, don't just stand there! Somebody call an ambulance!" And with that, yep. What do you shout exactly?
Well, obviously, this officer has been badly injured. There's a student still in the car. I don't think he survived.
Make a sand check, please.
Yeah, of course. And of course, that's the first one I bloody well fail, isn't it?
That will be, for what just happened to you, that will be a sand loss of 1d8.
Oh, splendid! Let's see how badly this goes under. Oh, that's only a 3. So, okay, well...
Yep.
Hey, wonderful.
But you find yourself standing rooted to the spot in shock. Your ears still ringing from the explosion, and beyond that, in the moments before it happened, you're pretty sure you saw something that cannot be explained in any rational way. You saw a man who looked like Clarence Butterfield fire a magical bolt of electricity from his hand. And with that, I'd like you to do your best attempt at what the professor would say and do when he realizes what he just witnessed and is completely shocked out of his mind.
What do you want me to say? This boy was I didn't know him well, but this boy was a student. He practically died in my arms. There was nothing I could do. What am I supposed to say about all of this? I'm pretty sure at this point any thoughts of the museum or anything are about as far flung from his mind as humanly possible, because he's got a police officer that's been badly wounded next to him, and he's got a student that's been charred to a crisp. He can't explain anything of it. They'd have to say the car exploded, but what am I supposed to do? The only people that knew what was going on with all of this are either unconscious and or dead.
Yep. And with Gloves desperately trying to stabilize Lieutenant Jones on the road, I think that is how we will end this episode.
Yep.
Okay.
Chalk it up as a failure. You can fail sometimes.
Fair.
This has to be a failure. There's no way for me to go on from here, because what am I supposed to do? I don't know anything about anything that's going on. I believe I'm shell-shocked from watching this all occur.
And so, eventually, takes at least what seems to you, Gloves and Professor Longfellow, to take hours, but in reality, only takes about half an hour before the ambulance arrives and the police escort. The paramedics dash out onto the street, stretcher in hand. They attend to Newton first, and they spend a few moments bending over him and turn at you, sadly shake their heads, and move on to Officer Jones. Officer Jones, Gloves, and Professor Longfellow. You are all bundled up into the back of the ambulance. Lieutenant Jones lying on the stretcher, already covered in a mummy's worth of bandages. A drip feed of painkillers stuck into his right arm as the sirens blare, driving you to hospital. And behind you follows a police cruiser with Newt's body splayed out on the back seat, a white sheet covering it, still visible through the window as your ambulance passes it.
I only met him today. All I did was ask if he wanted a lift.
Later that night, the Ormond expedition is unveiled to the public. What first begins as a joyous, grand occasion quickly turns into a bloodbath as the full moon makes itself shown in the night sky. Its rays penetrate through the huge windows and the skylight in the expedition hall. And then, as soon as the rays of moonlight touch the sarcophagus, it opens, revealing the idol of Thoth, still in place inside, returned to its rightful spot by whoever stole it. You read in the newspaper the next day that 7 people were killed in the resulting unprecedented riot, and 27 injured, some of them critically. The police and the authorities and the museum staff are not quite sure exactly what happened.
I am. If I'm
Yes,
still alive.
yeah, you are.
I think I'm gonna lose some sand.
All the newspapers reveal is that upon the sarcophagus opening, the guests of the exhibition devolved into insanity, reaching for the nearest implements they could use as weapons and bludgeoning each other, bludgeoning whoever happened to be nearby. The newspaper article reveals that the owner of the museum, Mr. Was it Walter, I think? Mr. Warren Hollister was one of the victims to perish. His head bludgeoned by an Egyptian artistic fertility statue from the 2nd century BCE. He perished from major traumatic injury. The director and curator of the exhibition, Miss Ethel Browning, and her assistant, the Egyptologist Clarence Butterfield, are currently missing, their whereabouts unknown. Professor, I will
Yep.
grant you the opportunity to please make an idea check now, with all the context of everything that has happened.
Why not? Just for an amusement. That's an 8. Joy.
In the days that follow, you make contact with Professor Grey, and you find him in shocking condition, a frail, sickly man that is a shadow of his former self, wasting away in bed in his manor. As he looks up from the newspaper with the article describing the bloodbath at the Ormond exhibit, he reveals to you the missing pieces of your investigation. Professor Vincent Grey is a frail and elderly gentleman who has always had a curiosity in the esoteric and the occult. Yet it is only recently that he had become cognizant that the world is not as it seems, and that there are in existence outlandish and malevolent beings that inhabit the shadows and the very cracks in reality, posing a real danger to humanity. His academic specialty is ancient Egypt, and it is this that you bond over. And he first stumbled upon what he calls the mythos, when he happened upon a little-known and badly damaged set of 18th Dynasty Egyptian scrolls known as the Akhenaten fragments, found deep in the Miskatonic University's archive. Study of the grotesque imagery and aberrant hieroglyphics depicted within sent him down distressing and disturbing paths of research that he never knew existed. He learned of many things, including the history of the lost city of Nealat and its destruction, affected by the idol of Thoth, gifted by the great god Thoth, who, in the wake of the destruction of the city of Nealat, was granted another name, Nyarlathotep. When he read that the ruins of Nealat had been uncovered near Cairo, he knew a great danger was at hand. He contacted Arthur Ormond, a famed archaeologist, with the intention of hiring him to retrieve the idol. Unfortunately, when Arthur arrived in Egypt and heard the legend that the idol was made of pure diamond, he decided to keep it for himself. Since then, Professor Grey has been in a state of panic. His inability to acquire the idol, his failure in preventing the attack on Arthur, and now his ineptness in purchasing the artifact from the museum has affected his health. And, a week prior, he suffered a massive heart attack. Luckily, he survived, but is now an invalid, and will likely be bedridden for years to come. Before he leaves you with your thoughts, he provides his opinion on what happened with Clarence Butterfield, his former student, and his new boss, Miss Browning of the Museum of Antiquities. He recounts that he had helped place his student, Clarence Butterfield, in a job in the museum so that he could keep an eye on the idol and perhaps even try to convince Miss Browning to let him take it away so it could be placed into safer hands. However, it is likely that Clarence Butterfield gazed upon the idol while studying it on the night of the full moon, becoming fully under its thrall. Then, from there, it's likely that he indoctrinated Miss Browning into the service of the idol of Thoth, and the two of them together staged a theft. Staged the idol going missing, when in fact it was not missing at all. Their purpose? To lure out anyone who, like Grey, would have the slightest chance of understanding what evil awaited in the Arkham Museum, and stalling them for time, keeping them busy investigating a fake burglary until the exhibition could open at 5 p.m. There you go, Professor. What are your thoughts on that?
I wish I could come up with something for this. All this death, all this destruction, for what? What purpose? To what end?
Gloves and Officer Jones and Professor Longfellow, you have all survived, but you failed in your mission of solving the mystery of the Idol of Thoth. Needless to say, you do not receive the payment for a job well done. Furthermore, for being indirectly responsible for the bloodbath that occurred at the museum, you each lose 1d6 san.
It seems unfair.
Aha! I can't lose any sen.
Yeah,
Joke's
you're
on
dead.
you.
What? Yeah, what do you do? You're dead. The dead don't
I
talk.
lost one.
You
I lost one. I
And
lost one, but at what
Gloves
cost?
lost 3.
Huzzah!
However, you do gain some rewards, such as they are, for your for surviving, and yet for surviving your exposure to the Cthulhu mythos. You may each add 1d6 points to your Cthulhu mythos skill.
That was a 5.
It was a 4, but
And go ahead, Gloves. You get some too. 1d6 to your Cthulhu mythos skill.
you didn't deserve to go out that way. Just a boy.
You kind of did there.
But I didn't know that. Now, did I? As far as I knew, it was
Saved
fine.
your lives.
Finally, you may add so 3 to Gloves' Cthulhu mythos. Lovely. It's a start. It's better than nothing. And finally, you may add 1d6 to any 3 of your skills, including the same skill.
Okay.
Be sure to mark it on your sheets, and don't forget.
Yes.
I reckon I should put it into
Maybe put
driving.
Driving. Well, Gloves has got 50.
What about your guns?
Yeah.
Guns or
Yeah,
dodging,
guns
maybe.
would be a good idea. Maybe
Well-
guns. Guns is good.
Well, to be fair, that wasn't combat that did that in. That was
No, that was Dex,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No,
Dex.
I mean when she tried to shoot the
Oh yeah.
horrifying glob of mess on the floor.
To be
Yeah, my
fair,
firearms are only 20.
to be fair, the brief bit of combat in this episode, they actually got through it relatively unscathed.
Yeah.
That's wrong. It's not wrong.
If I hadn't done first aid on myself, I
Yeah.
would have
You would have
died.
died.
would've died,
You would be
yeah.
dead. You would
Yeah.
be dead right
Because
now.
I only stayed alive by that one.
1 hit point,
Point.
yeah.
That is a terrifying notion.
And finally, after you've added 1d6 to any 3 of your skills, you may make a luck check, and if you fail, you may add 1d10 luck to your score.
Oh, lucky me. Oh, great. So I failed the check, but I only got 1 luck for it.
Oh, and M1 failed, so he gets 1d10 luck. Two. M1 only got 2. Okay.
This is not an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Alright. I gotta do my luck check.
Yep.
I didn't use any luck this
No, you
session.
didn't. So
No,
what
you
skills?
damn near lost your life.
What skills did you all pick?
I put 2 of the rolls into firearms and 1 into listen.
That's fair enough.
Spud hidden in archaeology.
Yep.
A little bit into
So
the
we can
occult.
spread 5
A little bit
points.
into the occult.
Yeah, you can add
Over 3.
1d6 to any 3 of your... Well, 1d6, so if you pick 3 skills, you can add 1d6 to each of them.
Oh, so it's not
Yeah.
it's not 3d6 rolling.
Well, yeah, it's 3d6.
It's just the one.
Yeah, it's 1d6 for each skill. So if you pick
Oh,
3...
oh,
yeah,
oh.
yeah. So you pick a skill, and then you add 1d6 to it.
I failed my luck check.
Oh,
Do I do it
Yep,
again?
you get 1d10 luck.
1d10 luck. Sweet. Well,
And-
I got 1.
1. Yeah, everyone's... Yeah, well, I guess it makes sense considering how that episode ended. Yeah.
We failed.
There were other ways you could have approached that car.
I should have kept going.
You should have seen the signs, but it's
You're a
okay.
cop. You saw him. You thought you'd
Yeah,
help.
could have. Yeah,
There's nothing
exactly.
you could have done
You're
about
playing
it.
in character, and that's what happened, and that's good. Role playing led to this. And that's what Call of Cthulhu does. So
No.
with that is the end of Idol of Thoth, episode 2 of Curse of the Pharaoh. We will be back again in 2 weeks with episode 3 of Curse of the Pharaoh, known as Dark Light, when our heroes, or what's left of them, receive a troubling message from their new ally, Professor Grey. They begin a drive cross-country, but what will happen to them when they reach their destination? What is the dead light? And will they survive a night unlike any they've had before? You'll have to make sure you tune in to watch. Thank you to
I think if Lieutenant Dan doesn't die, he's gonna go crazy.
He's gonna go crazy, but he's done well so far.
Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no sand left.
Actually, next episode I think is one that Lieutenant Dick will shine in, because it's pretty much going to be an episode where there's an emergency situation and you just have to survive, and being able to enforce the law and command a lot of hysterical people will be very, very useful.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Ominous. Great.
So, thank you very much to everyone who joined. Ivy has hugs for M2, as is tradition. Thank you to BCG and to Ivy. And thank you, Ivy, for the hugs for me. And for Caril7, and thank you for Caril7 and Manual Matt for the follows. We very much appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed this episode, because we certainly did. And until next time, when you see a car driven by someone who very well may be up to their ears in crazy occult stuff, just keep driving. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Back from the big blue house.
No.